Now, when Milan's transfer window opened up, there was reports of a fantastic four that the club wanted. A right back, left back. I think there was reports of possibly a center back as well. But definitely a right back, left back, midfielder, and a striker. That was a necessity for the club. As the transfer market has turned out, there's been a lot of movement. I believe there was someone who put out there that over 20 players have moved in and out of the club. Or I think almost 20 plus players have actually left the club. So it's been an interesting time. It's been a crazy market for Milan, probably the most active mercato that the Rossoneri have had in multiple seasons. But here we are. No, it's not pre-recorded, my friend. I'm right here. This is just my intro. This is actually a very last-minute impromptu plan that I came up with. I was like, you know what? Let's just go live, chat with you guys, and see how we're gonna, what happened in the last couple hours. So initially, I was actually thinking that I might go live at 9 o'clock in the morning for my time and stay live till 6 p.m. So just do like a full shift for you guys for like a marathon live stream. But then this morning, I figured out that the Mercato is actually only open for till 7 o'clock in Europe, which I did not know. Usually it's open till midnight or 11:59 p.m. That's still the case with Spain, but the Serie A Mercato, Premier League, Bundesliga, French League, all of them are shutting down at 7 p.m. today. So we really have about, an hour and a half to go? Or am I wrong about that? I'm going to be switching between screens here, so just want to say hi to you guys. I can see your comments here. I can actually see them right in front of me this time around. I don't have to look down, read the comments, look up. So let's see what you guys are saying here. But yeah, pretty much what I thought was like, let's just for the last little bit of time, hang out together, talk about the things that are happening in the window, and make our assessments and see what you guys have to say about it. Now, I'm going to start opening up, obviously, open up windows and see. But I think the number one thing that a lot of people have been talking about is this one, right? Akanji. All of a sudden, last minute. Well, to be fair, there was never an agreement with Milan. I think that was just an interest. And if Inter are going to be called, their nickname is the Snakes, right? And then they kind of snaked us out of this one. They stole the guy. But to be fair, as I said, there was no agreement between the clubs. And I don't think there was an agreement, with the player or anything. So it was still being worked out. Keep in mind, a lot of people don't remember this. For almost the entirety of the transfer window, Inter was chasing Coney de Winter. That's the guy that they actually wanted. A lot of people don't talk about it, but that was arguably one of their top targets for their defense because the guy does have the versatility to be able to play in a lot of different formations. He can play in a lot of different positions too. And that's actually the guy that they wanted. And Milan was the one who stole that away. But no one really talks about that. But Akanji one is we're going to chat about it for sure because it's probably a fair one. Okay, let me just see if my technical side is okay here. I just want to make sure because this was very last minute that I started. I'm going to come back to all of your guys' comments in just a second. All right, let's see this. So we got the browsing tab here. You guys can see that, but I'm going to put up a window there. But I just want to make sure my mic is working here. Yes, it is. All right, let's do this. So all we can really do is, pull up Fabrizio Romano or just get on Twitter and see what the heck is happening. Because there's a lot happening. Let's log in. But you guys let me know in the comments. I'm actually really curious. How do you guys feel? I mean, I'm already seeing some Forlani comments popping up. But how do you feel about the whole Akanji thing? I thought that was actually a really good move for Milan. I would have really liked that to go through. I feel like his experience, a lot of people were talking about the fact that, he's old and, I already covered that in the video, that he's old and, why would Milan be going after somebody who's 30 and is not very fast? But you got to remember the experience. You have to remember the Champions League finals and the Champions League winner and the player who actually started in their back line. Experience counts. Not every player has to be extremely fast and, young. Sometimes you do need that leadership, and I think Akanji would have brought that. And it's sad that he's gone to Inter. But the funny part with Inter is that they already have an aging defense. Like, they already have a lot of defenders in their backline that are not very young. So for them to add another one who's not young is a little bit odd. Because for Milan to add him made complete sense. You have 3 young defenders, 3 young center backs. They could really get guidance. Even Coney de Winter, if you add him in there too. So 4 young center backs. And then an experienced guy like him would have come and helped. But they already have a Cherby. They have Darmian. So but it does make sense. He's a good player. Okay, boom, there we go. Now, let's check what's happening with Milan. I'll be honest, we're going to figure this out all together. And I already have some news here for you. Let's open this up. All right, sorry. Let me fix this first. There we go. There's the big news already. Milan is not going to sign a right back. And I think it does make, well, I don't want to say it does make sense, but it does make some sense considering the fact that, they have De Winter who can play on the right. They have, what was the other guy's name? Etekame. So, I mean, they have Alexis as well. So, I guess that makes sense, but I guess this is where we stand. I think they're looking more for a center back at this point in time. Adrien Rabiot is here. This one is a weird one. Like, to me, this one's an odd one because for such a chunk of the Mercato, it seemed like this is not going to happen. Rabiot's not going to be joining. And then I guess the injury to Yashari just really kickstarted that entire situation. Maybe, there's an element of Allegri coming in and, letting the management know that that last line of defense for him is not just, going to be the center backs, but he wants that last line of defense to be quality midfielders as well, or the second last line of defense to be that. And with Yashari's injury, they needed somebody, and I think whatever is happening with Rabiot at Marseille, all the fighting, and I think they got into a physical altercation with one of the teammates or something like that. And that really caused him to go through this situation where he got essentially kicked out of the club. Let's open this up and see what actually happened with him. Yeah, so there you go, right? So as you see here I don't want to play anyone's videos and all that. So Rabiot and Rose altercation was like a English pub fight. So that's pretty much what happened. And I think De Zerbi came out and said that, if something like that happens, you have to move those pieces out. This is an article by ESPN. And there you go. Altercation as extremely violent, something I've never encountered before is what De Zerbi said. So I guess Milan has, what's funny about this entire situation is that Milan went with a guy like Alex Gimenez, who they have walked away from, as somebody just commented. Hey, Kush, why did they sell Alex Gimenez? Let me just highlight this comment. So that is the funny part, is that one of the reasons that is being reported that they walked away from him is because he had some disciplinary issues. He was reportedly had this sort of fiery temperament that would come out on the pitch too at times. But he also had disciplinary issues where the coach had explicitly told him that he was being late for training too many times. And in spite of being warned about being late, he still kept showing up late. Means that he probably could have some off the field situations, a lot of, and this is a pure assumption, so I don't want to say it too much, but we know players in the past, even top stars like Ronaldinho, and they had those disciplinary issues because they had a very vibrant life off the field. We don't know if that's the case with Gimenez or not. What we do know is, by some reports, according to Nicolas Skira, he was late for training on multiple occasions, and he was already warned for it, and he did not make amends. And for that reason, the fact is that if you're going to have a player like Luka Modric showing up for training on time, you show up on time too, buddy. And because reportedly that was one of the issues with him, Milan decided to walk away and, move him on. But that's why I'm saying it's funny that they're now bringing in Adrien Rabiot, a guy who literally got into a physical altercation in Marseille. It's funny. Yeah, as Nisfat says, I believe Yashari's injury triggered Rabiot transfer and pushed Tade to go for it. Yeah, that is what it is. Well, let me just send this message out. All right. So today's stream is going to be super casual, I have to be honest. Like I was at a wedding this weekend, super tired still, but it was the final day, and it's going to be a little bit tough for me to make consistent content, although there is going to be a video that's going to come out either tonight or tomorrow. It is going to be about a major movement of a player that used to play for Milan before, a major goalkeeper. I mean, that's about as much of a hint I guess I can need to give you guys. And that video is going to come out tonight. It's going to be a little bit different to what I usually create, so watch out for that one. But let me see some questions. Kush, what exactly you do in America? Well, first of all, my friend, I'm not in America. I'm not American. I have nothing to do with America. I'm Canadian. So that's number one. What I do in Canada is I've had a business in real estate for 12 years, 13 years at this point in time. And when I started doing this during COVID, now it's reached a point where I'm like, you know what, let's just have some fun and try to do this. So as if you guys may have already seen in the previous video, I'm going to be going to Milan for a few months at least. Next week, we leave in almost exactly a week. And just going to create content from there, try and do some partnerships. You guys will see what happens, but I won't say too much right now. But yeah, I'm going to be traveling across Europe, watching all the crazy games. I think there were some good Champions League scheduled games that I'm going to be watching, but we'll come back to that. Let's just focus on the Mercato for now. But yeah, that's what I do here. Fabrizio Romano and Matteo Moretto said in their live streams that AC Milan won't sign any new players this transfer window. Let's see how that goes. But it does seem like mostly the Mercato for Milan is, I wouldn't say complete, but it definitely has. Let's just open this up. Let's just see what transfers they actually made. Okay, so in terms of the in movements, you got one midfielder, you got a second midfielder. So Milan pretty much picked up 4 midfielders in this Mercato, with Samuele Ricci, Luka Modric, Arden Yashari, and now Adrien Rabiot. So this midfield didn't need that overhaul, but you would say that they have more so gone with fusion players. I think Ricci would be the main, maybe out and out player that can really help you from a defensive standpoint. But I think the other guys are a little bit of a mix of those qualities, the attacking qualities or the creative qualities and the defensive qualities. But Ricci, Modric, Yashari, and Adrien Rabiot. Now, in terms of forwards, you got Christopher Nkunku, someone that there's still question marks about as to why the Rossoneri even signed him. And I think anybody who has that question, I don't think is unreasonable, because I am also a little bit confused. And who the heck am I to even be confused? The coach is confused. We know what Max Allegri came out and said himself. The coach himself came out and said that I'm not even sure how to use the player. That's to me, that's what I was saying before. Like I like the fact that he said that, because I like that I like this element of transparency. I just my own thing. A lot of people were not happy about the fact that Iglitare came out before the game and said that about Santi Gimenez, that they're trying to pull off a swap deal with Roma for Dovbyek, and I understand that. I'll come back to that, but this is what the coach said. So it's not just me who's confused about how he's going to be used, but the coach himself is confused as to how he's going to be used. And I think that's the interesting part about the Nkunku deal is, What is Milan exactly planning to do with him? But here's the thing. He is a player that Iglitare said that Milan has had their eye on for some time, and they saw a unique opportunity to be able to sign him, and they, sort of went for it. But I think he's become one of the most expensive signings in the history of the club. And when we're doing the negotiations at the beginning of the transfer window for Yashari, at that point in time, I don't think any of us thought that in the same mercato we're going to go for another player that is not even on our radars, who's going to become one of the most expensive signings in the history of the club. So to me, that is crazy that happened. But what Milan's going to do with him, I'm really curious to actually see what you guys have to say. So I'm going to start going through some of your comments. Sorry if I'm going to try really, really hard to cover a lot of your comments, but it's a little bit hard to because fortunately for me, there's so many of you guys here. The one thing that I do want to request is there's about 373 of you guys here. And we do at this point in time on the stream have about 43 thumbs ups. Oh, this stream usually freezes when I put a thumbs up. We have 43 likes with almost 400 people. Come on, man. Don't hit me with that 10% ratio. I'm not Mino Raiola looking for a commission at 10%. Just bring me up a little bit. Let's crack over 100 likes at least. Let's watch that number go up. But let's also go through some of your comments. So I regret a lot. String Chanu Vlad says, I regret a lot Adli being removed while keeping Fofana. That I personally think is overrated. What do you think, Kush? I don't know if you're going to like my answer. I wouldn't be able to say that I was necessarily a massive fan of Adli. I think he was a good player, but a lot of the times you have to see, I think in one of his interviews, Jose Mourinho back in the day said, there are a lot of players that I moved on from, but can we see where they are now? What are they doing at the teams that they are now? Adli is not even at a club that necessarily at this point in time has wanted to keep him. He went to Fiorentina, but Fiorentina didn't say that, we want to keep this guy. Milan has not said that they want to keep the guy. So to me, it's more of a, with Rangers, what's probably going to happen. He's probably going to play really well at City. But Adli hasn't given that return for me to really think about him too much. I think the signings that the Rossoneri have made are probably better than what we had with Adli and Yashari, Ricci, Modric, obviously, even Rabiot. So I don't really miss him. I understand your point, though. Your point is that we held on to Fofana and let go of Adli. But I think in the context, it did make sense because, hindsight's 2020. So we can look back and say what we think. But in that moment, last summer transfer window, where we had a period in Pioli's final season where you felt the need that you needed a defensive midfielder, that Fofana profile was the one that we preferred, was the one that we wanted to go with. So I think it would be a little bit unfair to look back and say, oh, this happened or that didn't happen. I think what we have to look at is what the moment in that moment was like. And I think in that moment, all of us would have preferred a Fofana chance over an Adli return. At least I would have. So I don't really miss him, but you do feel, especially for a guy who's as in love with Milan as Adli was, I think you do feel the pain a bit. Well, there we go. 105 likes. Thank you very much, guys. Cranked it over. Now let's see. Because the other player that Milan has signed, that's the one that I want to actually chat about now and cover. Wait, so hold on. So Odogu David Odogu is arguably going to be the last signing then that Milan makes. It's possible. Let's just look at his profile for a bit. Because I wouldn't pretend to know that I've, seen this guy play or anything like that. That's not going to happen. Okay, so they signed him from Wolfsburg. Let me pull this up on the screen for you guys. Boom, there we go. Okay, I got to be careful as to how much of these ads are visible because I don't know what YouTube's rules are, man. Always stresses me out. But yeah, there we go. Okay, so 19-year-old German center back. We remember one of those with Schalke, which was Malik Tau. I mean, transfer market value-wise, you can really say that this is not necessarily a player that you would say is a proven talent. More like a chance purchase. I already talked about this with, who was it, with Conrad Harder, that he seemed like maybe a bit more of a product of the scouting systems, where the scouting department sees a certain player and they sort of decide that, you know, that this is a player that we're going to be bringing on. And this, to me, kind of feels like that move. It's a little bit frustrating because I think I would have preferred a more out-and-out trusted center back signing, a player that we definitively would have known was good. But that would have been Akanji for me. I think if Milan had actually signed Akanji, or a player maybe of a similar ilk with that type of level of experience, it would have just sort of wrapped up the transfer window for me very positively. I think we still have to see if there is an issue with the Santi Gimenez and Artem Dovbyk move. That's the one that I kind of want to keep my eye on. Right now, the one thing that I do want to check is how long is the transfer window even open till? Check on my phone. But yeah, so I think if we had signed Akanji, I would have felt a lot better. Because to me, then that would have meant that we sort of had a more complete mercato. Because right now, checking the timer as to how much time is left, I think we got like an hour or something to go. Because I know these guys have a clock ticking here. Can someone put it in the comments what time the mercato is closing? Let me just open this up. I'm actually way more intrigued, to be very honest with you guys, about Premier League right now. I'm starting to really develop a liking for the Premier League because, man, some of the moves that these guys are making with Alexander Isak, 130 million pounds in this financial times. That's a crazy move. Liverpool even got Gahey now from Crystal Palace, the captain of Crystal Palace on deadline day. Like, how are they not going to win the title again is crazy to me. So there's a lot happening in the Mercato, and that's kind of what I wanted to do here. I didn't want to just talk about Milan. I just wanted to have a bunch of chats with you. Let's just take this question from Daniele. Will the Dovbyk for Gimenez swap happen? Hard to say right now. There's a lot of different things that are coming up that it probably will not happen. It probably is dead in the water. But that's why I'm saying, like, you know, every time I see whenever I see the deadline day, in my mind, it's always like, you know, something could happen. You just never know, something could happen. And we got another one. So from the looks of it, Yunus Musah is now an Atalanta player. And I guess you could have different ways of thinking about this move, depending on how you feel about Musah. To me, I always saw Musah as a player that had potential, but was just never able to consistently show it. But I actually think he's a good player. Atalanta would be the perfect destination for a player to grow. As I think I mentioned this before too. If you look at the kind of teams that have been chasing Yunus, the two teams that chased Yunus this Mercato were Antonio Conte's Napoli and Tony D'Amico's Atalanta. And those are two profiles. You know, Antonio Conte, when he recruits a player, you know he's doing it for a reason. He's a no-nonsense coach. So if he's going to bring somebody on, he's going to bring him on for a reason. And then you have D'Amico's Atalanta that is known to bring in those young players and make them better. And for him to, you know, do it the way that, for him to go, you know, be recruited by these two clubs mostly, tells me that he has the potential that other clubs also see. I just think that with 4 midfield signings already this summer transfer window, I think we just loaded in the midfield. And with Alexis Salamakers being available on the right, with a player like Coney de Winter also being a profile that can play on the right, maybe they just felt like it would be too much. I think right now the deal that Milan has with them is a loan with an option. Man. Hold on one second. Phone's blowing up a little bit. Yeah, there we go. So he has signed on a loan with an option to buy. So he's out. There we go. Exo says 1 hour and 56 minutes and it's over. Man, I got to talk for 2 hours. I don't know if my throat can handle that. Oh, someone said 56 minutes. Yeah, that's what I was going to say that too. I think maybe it was supposed to be 7 o'clock. So let's just see how long we can do this for. Hertha asks, why didn't they buy Leone? I don't know. I'll be honest. I'm actually a little bit confused too. But I think the only thing that I could really assume here as to why Milan didn't sign him is because they may have a little bit of a risk in terms of his age. That maybe they didn't want to spend that much money on that young a player. If you look at the players that they spent money on, one is, Yashari. Now, Yashari, maybe they've noticed based on how he plays that he might be worth around that price. They did end up having to maybe overpay for him a little bit based on initially what their budget was. They went very close to that 40 million euro mark. And then you look at Christopher Nkunku, another player that they paid almost 40 million euros for, is still a proven talent, right? His issues have been more so about injury. Whereas a player like Leone we're still going to have to wait to see how things turn out for him. I think he's 18, 19 years old. So he's still very young. So there's a possibility that the club just didn't believe that they wanted to spend around 40 million euros for a player who's that young. And they want somebody who has consistently shown that. So do I agree with that? I don't. I think if you have the money to be able to spend 40 million on Nkunku, you might as well spend a big amount on at least at this point in time, known future talent in Leone. I think that would have been worth the chance. It is sad that Serie A is losing its top players or top young players to other leagues, because that's the one thing, if you have big stars like back maybe let's say 15 years ago when Ibrahimovic left for Barcelona, Kaká left for Madrid, you have your big star players that, around that 29-year age, they do leave and want to try a different club. But for us to now see the young players actually leave, that to me is a little bit more concerning, because and I think it's Serie A clubs at fault. We saw what's happening with Gamarda now. A player like Gamarda is not going to be here, and the investment into the younger players is questionable. And if you're going to keep putting the younger players on the sidelines, then you are going to have issues where young players are going to want to leave. And the top clubs are not going to go after the young players. You're going to have these young players are going to say, hey, you know what? We're going to play in another league because we want to play at the highest level. We want to play European football. I think it is also a sad reality of Serie A, not just because of these clubs not wanting to play the young guys. I think it's also the fact that because Serie A is not making enough money, a lot of these clubs feel the pressure that they cannot focus on necessarily just future investment. They need results now. They need to make top four now. So investing into a young player that may not show up, may not be good enough, that's not an investment they want to risk, because you put 40 million into an 18-year-old or you put 40 million into a player that you know is good, it's a very different risk that you're taking. The Premier League can afford to take that risk. Even if they don't finish in the top four and they finish in 7th place, they're still going to crack about 200 million in revenue. Whereas with Serie A, if you fall from 4th place to 10th place, or 4th place to even 7th place, you're now looking at your revenue dramatically dropping. And so I think their comfort in investing in younger players has been deterred by the financial strength of the league. Osuji Uchenna says, Odogu, why? As I said, I wouldn't pretend to be someone who's actually watched the player and knows exactly how he plays, but I do think that it's a deal. They're probably going to have to spend less, and maybe in their scouting department they noticed that the player was good. So that's really the only thing that I could say right now. Look at what happened with Liberali. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. You look at a lot of the young players and look at what's happening with them. These guys are not they're not here anymore. And we're going to have to wait to see what happens and where they actually show up. But Liberali's case is a little bit different because Liberali did push for the move away, whereas Camarda, I think, wanted to play, but eventually they realized that it's not going to happen. I think I'm getting some comments here saying that that Rabiot has passed his medical, so let's just check into that. All right, let's see. Hold on. All right, let's see this. Yeah, so Musah joins Atalanta on loan with an option to buy. So this is what I'm saying, right? So look at this tweet now. Because earlier we were hearing that Milan's not going to make any moves on deadline day, but there it is. It's, there's some question marks about Gianluca Di Marzio and how reliable he can be at times, but he's saying that there are possibilities of this trade happening. So we only have about an hour or something to go to definitively be able to say if it actually goes through. What's funny is that I felt like I had a clock as to when the Mercato is going to close. And suddenly I cannot find a freaking timer anywhere as to when this is going to shut. Whatever. We can just keep going. Nil says, do you think Milan is changing the formation with signing of Nkunku? Big question. Big question, Niels. Do I think they're going to change the formation? I have some doubts. I think Allegri is happy with what he has. I do think he's, as Vittorio on the channel a while ago told me in a comment that, Allegri is a tactical chameleon. He doesn't have one way that he's married to. That's why he's constantly called pragmatic. And for that reason, you could say that there's a fusion of, in the style of how Milan plays. If you watch the last game, you'd be able to see that a lot of the times when they're defending, they fall back into a 5-4-1. Consistently, they fall back into 5-4-1. And when they're attacking, you kind of get the sense that they're almost sort of forming themselves into a 4-3-3. So could a player like Nkunku fit into a system? Yeah, I think when you sign somebody for 40 million, you're not definitely not signing him to keep him on the bench. So they're going to have to find a way to play him. But you'd also know that Allegri's stubborn enough to just say, hey, you know what? I don't need this guy right now. I don't need to use him, but I think it's just going to be a player that's going to offer depth. And I think I talked about this before, that if Allegri's system is going to require these players to run around a lot and be extremely active in terms of their movements, then there's a possibility that these players are also going to get tired. And if they get tired, then they're going to have to need those backup. And those backup options are going to be important. So improving your depth in attack or in defense, that's never a bad thing. And let's be real, it's not our money that is being used, right? So they somehow found 40 million to spend on this guy. Okay, I'm okay with that. And I think he just offers Milan more attacking depth. Formation-wise, it's tough to say. Sumitra says Milan should have gone for Lookman instead of Nkunku. More proven in Serie A, fitter. I'm not going to fight that comment. Pietro says there's no time to sign, guys. There's time. There's more than enough time to sign. How are you, bro? I'm good. Very good, man. How are you? A little tired. I was at a wedding over the weekend. Late night. A lot of fun. But yeah, we're here. A Jot says, just keep Santi there like for like, and I think it wouldn't matter. I don't know if they're like for like, though. I'll be honest. I think Santi is more of a modern striker. Drops deep, drops back, helps out in the build-up a little bit more. Hasn't right now, in the first few games, shown to be a very prolific scorer, at least until now. Got great opportunities in the match against Lecce. Did take one of his chances, but was just a little bit smidge offside. I think Dovbyk is a little bit more out-and-out finisher. And just, his physicality, his strength, he can still move fast. For me, number one signing last summer was Dovbyk. I really wanted Milan to be able to pull it off. It didn't happen, but if it happens now, I'll be honest, I won't be sad that Santi leaves and Dovbyk comes in. But I've also said this. I've said, deferring things, and some people are even talking about that. I don't know why both things cannot be true. But I would be okay if Santi stays and fights. I'm not mad at that, because now you have a player who's hungry to show and prove himself. Who's going to say no to that? And you already invested 30 million into him 8 months ago, so you might as well even hold on to him and let him fight it out. So I don't mind that part, that he's going to be fighting it out. Oh, it's 8 p.m. Milan time. Okay, there we go. So Nisfat says less than 2 hours to go. I think different countries, maybe a little bit more time. Why can't we have both Santi and Dovbyk? Now, that's the right question. And I think there were a lot of reports that were suggesting that it's possible that Milan could sign both players. It wasn't necessary that they're only going to be bringing in Dovbyk. I just don't know if that's actually feasible at this point in time. I have some doubts that it actually is feasible. So we're going to have to wait to see. But let's just check in to see what's actually being suggested here. What the heck is this? I feel like when I woke up, there was so much new news, and suddenly there's not enough news coming in. Right when I went live. All right, let's crack this open and just read through some of the articles. I'm going to grab my tea here. I haven't eaten anything since morning, so give me a sec. All right, let's see this. So Musah is headed to Atalanta. Good for Musah. I think he's definitely going to get more play time, so that's okay. AC Milan will not sign any right backs for now. Names like Hector, Fort, Arnau, Martinez, and other previously linked profiles will not be joining the club. There it is. Club would only have pursued a right back if the right loan opportunity or an easy, quick deal had arisen, which it didn't. How do you guys feel about this? Seeing Milan's right flank, are you concerned? What I'm curious about is, where exactly can a player like... So Zachary Etekame, his preferred position is the right back role. So really, what we're looking at, I think, to be fair then, do we really need a right back in that sense? Because if you have somebody like De Winter who can play on the right flank, you have Etekame who can play as a right back, then from a role standpoint, you have Alexis Salamakers who can play on the right flank. So from a role perspective, don't you already have enough bodies to fill in that? Now, I'm not debating necessarily that Etekame and De Winter are the right picks or the right moves, or they're the ones that you can rely on for your right flank. My comment is more so around bodies. You're playing one game a week, so why really would you bring any more right backs? What we have seen is that Estupinian up until now for me probably, has been one of the weaker links. I'm not a big fan of how he's really looked. I'm willing to be a little bit patient and give him time, but when you're replacing Theo Hernandez, I would have really preferred a body that did the job right off the bat and made us sort of forget. Long time ago, I think I've already talked about this once before. A while ago, we had a player in Donnarumma who left, and then the first game that Maignan played in 2021-22 season against Sampdoria, I think he made one pass for Leao. And what I saw from Maignan in that game, I had never seen from a Milan goalkeeper before. The amount of attacking inputs that he had, the amount of times he was delivering passes and crosses and building up from the back was so effective. I had never seen that with Donnarumma. So seeing Maignan do that made me forget Donnarumma in 45 minutes of a game. And that's something that you would like to see from an Estupiñán signing or a left-back replacement for Theo Hernandez, where you feel like, you know what, we got somebody really good. And up until now, he just hasn't felt like he's the guy that makes me feel that way. And I already mentioned this. Martino tweeted this out and mentioned that about Estupiñán, that he seems too dependent on his left foot. And if you watch his highlights, he does. Theo, I think, also was heavily dependent on his left foot. But this guy seems even worse because he made one or two passes with his right foot in that game with a back pass to Pavlovic, went right to a Lecce player. And that's the risk that we're running, is that we have a player who needs to obviously assimilate into the league, but he's going to have to do it quick. And what surprised me was the fact that, he is a player that has played in the Premier League. And when you're in the Premier League, okay, so I think we got some news that is coming in about Santi Gimenez. So from the looks of it, Santi Gimenez is going nowhere. Reports are suggesting that his agent has actually come out explicitly and said outright that my client is not going anywhere. Dude, why does this pop-up keep happening, man? So there it is. So there's the tweet or an Instagram post really from Santi's agent, Sara perché ti fiamo. So basically he says, from the looks of it, Santi's going nowhere. We're going to have to wait to see is if a player like Dovbyk now arrives with Gimenez staying. But all reports are now suggesting, this is Antonio Vitiello who posted this, and Nicolas Skira now says Santiago Gimenez has decided to stay at AC Milan. The Mexican striker has rejected all the bids. I'll be honest, as I said in my last tweet as well, I'm kind of happy about that. Okay, let me rephrase. I am okay with that. I want a player who wants to fight for his place in the team. I don't want guys who have been coasting, because for the last couple seasons, we've had a lot of players that have just sort of going through the motions and just coasting and not having as much of a threat for their position, so they don't have to necessarily push themselves. But a guy who has just been signed a few months ago and is now on the chopping block, essentially, and the club is coming out before a game. The sporting director is coming out 15, 20 minutes before kickoff with Santi playing and coming out and saying, hey, you know what? We're actually trying to expedite a loan move, a swap deal between Milan and Roma for Dovbyk and Gimenez. That player then fights it out in the game, misses a lot of opportunities, gotta say, but then says, yeah, I don't want to leave. He didn't do all that he did with Feyenoord. The way that he left that club in the middle of the winter transfer window forced that move only to have to leave the next club in 8 months. You don't do that for that reason. So for him to step up and say, and his agent has consistently said it, there was one journalist maybe 10 days ago who tweeted out and said that that Gimenez has had a breakdown of a relationship with Allegri and he wants to leave. Now, you have to be fair that necessarily wasn't true. That the breakdown of the relationship, I think, was an over-exaggeration, because Allegri in the same day press conference came out and said that Santi is an important player. But something was clearly brewing. Something was going on that was making them feel that he's going to leave or he has potential of exiting. But his agent consistently and categorically came out every single time saying he's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. So I don't actually mind that the agent has been that way. Sorry, let me just... I think I saw a super chat that I do want to definitely make sure I don't miss. Oh my God, there's a few here. Oh, geez. Sorry. Okay, let's go at it one at a time. James, thank you so much for your super chat. I appreciate it big time, my friend. Thank you very much. You're very kind. Christian says a 3-4-1-2, Leao and Nkunku top, while with Pulisic behind. 3-4-1-2. Yeah, I guess that would fall into a... I'm just trying to picture that formation in my mind. I feel like Pulisic hasn't really done his best when he's playing behind the striker, though. We tried him in that central attacking midfielder position, and he just wasn't able to deliver the way that he does somehow from the right flank. Cutting in from the right, or shooting even with his left foot, seems to be more effective than playing centrally. So I guess we'll have to see. Maybe that is something that the coach is gonna fuse into the team. But look at that, right? Now you said 3-4-1-2 with Leao and Nkunku up top with Pulisic behind. Where does that put Gimenez? The guy just announced he's going to stay. So I think we're very attack heavy this time around. And we do feel a little bit, I got to say, we feel a little bit thin. Thank you again, Christian. We feel a little bit thin from a defensive standpoint because Pavlovic, Gabi, Tomori have been okay. Let's just say they have potential to improve maybe under Allegri, but they've been okay. Atakame and... Is it Atakame or Atakame? I think it's Atakame. Atakame and De Winter, they're not profiles that shout out at you and you're like, yeah, let's go. We got a big one now. We're gonna have to wait to see how they are. And Estupinian also hasn't shown us that in the first couple games that he's the savior for our left flank. So defensively, we feel a little bit skinny, whereas midfield-wise, loaded. Attack-wise, way too loaded for the number of positions we have available. So I guess we're going to have to wait to see what happens with that. But let's take the next one here from Wusha. Wusha Game Central. Why would anyone want Leone when Richards from Crystal Palace is better for a similar price? This is my Americanism speaking, but he's so underrated. I got to be honest, man. I won't be able to comment on Richards at Crystal Palace. What I do know is that Crystal Palace has let go of their captain, Mark Gahey, their defender. So they must have let him go because I guess they had some faith in Richards. So it's a tough one to say why, but I think someone as a center back Milan really needed. Some type of an improvement was important, and we didn't get that. What's your take regarding the Adley treatment? Jean-Paul Alfaro says, thank you again for the super chat, my friend. My take on the Adley treatment, I think I already kind of talked about it. Your super chat may have come a little bit earlier, and I missed it. But yeah, I don't think he's a player that fits. I don't think he's a player that I'm even really going to miss. Maybe just for the emotional standpoint that he actually loved the club. That was a good thing. But I'm not going to look at Adley and say, oh my God, this, if only we had Adley, everything would have been fine. I think what we have right now in the midfield to me is more preferred than what we have had, before that. Ella Boy says, who would you rather have on top, Pulisic or Santi? What a question. It does throw me off a little bit. I think there is long-term benefit to Milan in Santi Gimenez finding his form. So that doesn't mean that I wouldn't want to play Pulisic. I think Pulisic is, to me, he's very fast in my heart, really, now, becoming one of my favorite players on the team. I just think the team plays better when he's on. and the intensity is different. Now, he doesn't always step up in the bigger games, and I think that's one change I'd like to see from him this season. Last season, he did initially in the big games. Against Liverpool, he scored the opening goal. He had those moments. I think even against Inter in the derby, he scored, if I remember correctly. But I just want to see that on a consistent basis throughout the season. I want to see that really from everybody. And let's be real, we finished in 8th place. We need all these guys to step up. But I think there is value in Santi becoming the goal scorer that he is. He scored 30 plus goals for Feyenoord. So that guy cannot drop off from 30 plus to like 7. We need him to hit that minimum 15 plus number. So I think there's value in starting him and allowing him to find that form. But it's going to have to be a tactically fluid system, because when you're going to put Pulisic on the bench, one of your best players on the bench, I'm glad it's not my job to really figure that out, to be honest. Walid says Leao is definitely playing. Yeah, I think that's a given. Leao is a definite starter for the team. No matter how much someone dislikes him or feels that we give him too much favors or there's favoritism for him, he still starts. It's just the reality of this team. He is still, from a skill level, he's the best player that Milan has. I guess this is what I would ask you guys now. Mercato hasn't quite closed, so I wouldn't really comment too much on that, but give me a rating. What do you guys think about Milan's transfer window? 2 out of 10, I think, is very harsh. If you guys agree with 2 out of 10, let me know, but I think that's harsh, man. I think maybe being a little bit negative. It's not a 2 out of 10 Mercato for sure. I think they moved on from players that they don't really need. Players like Okafor sitting on the bench. What's the point? And that's actually another thing that I wanted to touch up on. Good thing you commented and said 2 out of 10. But some people were out talking about Nkunku and where he's going to fit. We have to keep in mind, you need depth in your team. And after letting go of players like Okafor and Chukwueze and bringing in Nkunku, that's an upgrade on the other 2 players. So this is not a bad thing. And if you remember right, last season when Chelsea's season kicked off, Nkunku was scoring a lot of goals. I think he was one of the scored a hat-trick early on in the season. And the only reason why he wasn't able to become that out-and-out center forward was because of Nicholas Jackson. Nicholas Jackson was blocking that because he was more, what he offered, Nkunku didn't quite offer. And I think he still has the ability to finish and score goals. So I would prefer over Okafor and Chukwueze any day an Nkunku move. So I'm not really mad at that. I don't think the Mercato is a 2 out of 10. I think I would give it I'm actually going to wait for your ratings before I talk about it. So Bijo says, no backup wingers, no backup striker, failed Mercato. No backup wingers. How do you say that? Why do we even need wingers if we're going to play a 3-5-2? You have players that can play as your wing backs. So you have, on the right, you have a player like Alexis. You have Koni de Winter, and you have Etekame. On the left, you have Estupinian, and then Bartasagi. So, yeah, maybe on the left, we're a little bit thin. On the right, I don't think we're thin. But on the left, we are thin. And I mean body-wise. This is not I think I have to be very careful how I say these things now, because you guys come back at me. I mean from a personnel standpoint. I'm not talking from a quality standpoint. I'm saying from a personnel standpoint, you have enough players on the right. But I think we are a little bit thin on the left with Estupinian and Bartasagi, because if Estupinian is not playing, you already have Bartasagi, and after that, you got nobody. So you have a youth product who hasn't proven himself enough, but a lot of people are suggesting that he's good, and he has seemed decent. And then you have Estupinian, who hasn't quite found his way into the league. So it is a bit confusing. It is reasonable to say that maybe on the left flank we're a little thin. No backup strikers. I mean, come on, man. What do you want? We're already trying to figure out things with Santi Gimenez. You want another striker now? If Milan is going to play the 3-5-2 and Leao is a sure bet up top, how many strikers do you really need alongside Leao? You really only need Santi. You could have had Dovbiek, and you never know. The Mercato is not closed yet, so let's just the transfer deadline is still hasn't reached. So let's see what happens in the next little while. But you already have Pulisic who can play up top as well. You have Gimenez. You have Nkunku who can finish as well. I mean, how many strikers are we... If anybody criticized the Mercato for lack of defensive reinforcements, I'm actually with you on that. I do think that defensively this team is still a little bit thin. And I understand maybe what the club was trying to do was that, we're going to reinforce the midfield and get some strong midfielders that they're going to protect the back line. Maybe that was the ideology, but I still feel like we should have had a center back signing. And we might still have one, because if you're going to let go of Malik Thiaw, I guess Odogu is the one that they're saying is a replacement. Make of that what you want. Jean-Paul Alfaro, thank you again for a second super chat. I appreciate it, my friend. Why do you think Loftus-Cheek was so bad after Pioli? I remember first season he was so good. Is the system or the player himself? Mercato 4 out of 10. Too late reaction. Why do I think Loftus-Cheek was so bad after Pioli? I think injuries didn't help. I think he did have injury issues even after coming to Milan. I think the second thing is that I think Reinders sort of took over that attacking aspect in his second season. The way that he sort of elevated his game, I think it put Loftus-Cheek a bit on the back burner. And Milan preferred to go, for some reason, they preferred even last season a lot of the times to even go with a double pivot. And so you were seeing Reinders and Fofana play together because Reinders was offering that attacking output and Fofana was the only defensive option available. So you had Loftus-Cheek sitting in the back burner. Because if you watch the goals that Loftus-Cheek scored in his first season and you watch the goals that Reinders scored in his second season, they're very similar. They were those late runs into the box, those, almost tap-in goals multiple times. And I think that was coming because of the role that those two players were playing. And I feel like Reinders sort of took over that creative, well, I don't think Loftus-Cheek was ever really creative. I think he was more of a box-to-box sort of runner, driver of the ball. And I think in his second season, a little bit of Reinders and a little bit of Musah took over the role that Loftus-Cheek was playing. And he did have injury issues. So I think it's maybe a little bit of mix of everything, but you guys let me know in the comments if you have your own take on that. But yeah, I would say that would be some of the reasons at least. All right. What else? What else is new? So there's an article that has come out about Joe Gomez. Hold the phone. We got some news. Okay. We got something that we can share here. Okay, I can't play the video, so I gotta be really careful how I do this. So, Crystal Palace are interested in signing Pavlovic from Milan. They're now actively exploring a deal, if a deal can be done for him, with less than 2 hours of the window remaining. Now, I think what I would say about this is very easy for me to at least predict. I don't think there's much of any chance of this actually happening. I already talked about right now when somebody said that the Mercato was a 2 out of 10. I already mentioned that to me, if there's any part of Milan's Mercato you can criticize, it's arguably their defensive line. And I just don't see any possibility that the management will look at all that has happened and then decide that, what we can walk away from is one of our center backs. I just don't think that's going to happen. So for me, I'm not really that concerned of this actually happening. I understand why they're exploring this opportunity. I think we already kind of talked about it once before, is that maybe 2 hours ago, big news came out that Liverpool signed Mark Gahey from Crystal Palace. He's the captain of Crystal Palace. And I think they were really trying to fight for a move to not actually happen. The coach of Crystal Palace had explicitly told the ownership group that he doesn't want him to go. He wants him to stay. And they were talking about the fact that maybe, when January rolls around, they're going to try and push for an extension for him. because I think the key element to this entire situation is that Guehi's contract runs out next summer. So this mercato, this transfer window in England was the only time they could get a deal done for him. And so for them, they had two options. Either sell him right now for, I think, somewhere around 40 million or 35 million pounds is what they paid for him, or next summer lose him for free, Mark Guehi. So because they wanted to hold on to the player, coach wanted to hold on to the player, he said, keep him, don't sell him, I need him, and we'll figure it out in January if we can give him an extension. Whereas the ownership group decided, hey, Liverpool's offering us 35 million pounds for this guy, and next summer we get nothing for this guy. Even in January, we get nothing for this guy. We're going to take this deal. And now they're scrambling last minute to find those center back options. And I guess one of the players that they're looking at is Trajina Pavlovic of Milan. I don't think there's any chance of this happening because Milan would have to let him go and then bring in a quality center back themselves. We're already thin in that department. So I'm pretty comfortable in saying that Pavlovic to Crystal Palace, it's not going to happen. Okay. So Santiago Gimenez's agent, Rafaela Pimenta, confirms Santi stays at AC Milan, as Fabrizio Romano says. So, yeah, we're okay with that. We already covered that enough now. It's just going to be interesting to see if Milan can pull off a Dovbyk deal still or not, or something. So Hector Ford is the name that came up, and now, as we know, reports have already said that there's not much of a chance of Milan signing a right back, so we're going to have to wait to see if that happens. Joe Gomez deal, that's the one that actually fell apart. Won't go through, but as we see here, Matteo Moretto confirming that David Odogu is the target moving forward, and they've already signed him. I think he's already arrived. So that's another deal. I'm not even sure why this is a conversation. I'm going to take this call. I never take calls during a live stream, but today I'm going to do it. I got to get the streams to be a little bit more relaxed. I got to bring the Rafael Leao style of doing things. Hello. What's up? I'm live. Okay. Yes. Okay. She's like, what is this Rafael Leao Chiao? I'm like, I'm live. Okay. Well, obviously this is not going to happen, but I really hope we can bring Dovbyk on, man. Like, I'm okay with Milan signing him. And there it is. So, Strajna Pavlovic, Crystal Palace, Fabrizio Romano says, I believe Palace have already signed Igor. He's completed his medical, so the left-footed defender should be him unless something changes. As I said already in this stream, I don't really think that Pavlovic goes anywhere. So that makes complete sense that nothing happened about that. All right, let's see this. Man, I feel like I need my glasses to read your comments now. All right, a lot better. HD now. Tony Guercio says, is this rumor true? If it is, like, I like it. Crystal Palace are interested in signing Pavlovic from Milan. They are now exploring if a deal can be done for him. With less than 2 hours, no, we're good. We don't have to worry about that, my friend. But why would you like that deal? Are you not a Milan fan? Because, man, we're skinny in our defensive area, so it would have helped to actually keep these guys. Zafari says, what if Estupiñán gets injured? Exactly. You know, it's not just about him getting injured. What if his form just never improves? Because his first 2 games have not been the best. And keep in mind, Estupiñán did, to be fair, pick up an assist in the opening game. The only goal that was scored by Milan in the opening game was assisted by Estupiñán and scored by Pavlovic, 2 of the worst players on the pitch. Let's be real. But it still got done. So we need more of that. We need more of that. But what we've seen from him hasn't really, given that much hope. Thank you very much for your super chat. Tripta. Interesting name. What's your background? I would do a 3. Hold the phone. What are we doing in attack? I mean, we're going to have to sign a few more guys for a 3-2-2-12. But let's say you meant 3-2-2-1-2. For attack, would have Leao as left mid, Santi as striker, Nkunku as striker, Pulisic as right mid, and Modric as a central attacking midfielder. Okay, I see what you're building here. Avengers. So you got Santi and Nkunku up top. You got Leao, Pulisic, and Modric in the middle. So really you're playing a 3-man attacking, so like a 4-2-3-1, but instead you're playing a 3-2, and then 2 midfielders. I guess you're going to need defensive guys, because I think the biggest problem that you have to remember, my friend, with this is that the way that Allegri plays, these players are never really going to play together unless the situation demands it, right? These guys are not going to be playing on the pitch together until it's absolutely needed and you desperately need a goal. His focus is going to be a lot more with players like, and people are not going to like this, but he's going to focus on playing players like Loftus-Cheek, the physicality, the defensive assistance, the strength, Yusuf Fofana, midfield, more stability defensively. I'm not saying that he actually offers that. That's not my point. My point is what Allegri is going to be working with. This is extremely attack heavy, and extreme attack heavy is not Allegri's style, I would say. As I said, again, if the situation demands, things like this could happen, but this is going to be a tough one for me to envision Milan playing with. Would I like to play this in FIFA? Absolutely. This would be a lot of fun. But outside of that, on the pitch, I think Milan would be a little bit more balanced, and this feels very attack heavy to me. But hey, I got to say, this is a very creative formation. I did not think about that. So that's an interesting one. Come on, don't sell Pavlovic, sell Tomori or Fofana. No, don't sell anybody. Right now, let's not sell anyone. Let's just focus on incoming product. Because selling players means you have holes. And Tomori and Pavlovic, I'd rather keep both of them at this point in time, because we're clearly not getting any more center backs. Sadri says, do you think Ferlani is a Milan problem? Oh my God, this stream's going to completely change shape if we start addressing this. I think the mark of a good team, a good ownership group, is the people that they hire for specific roles for any business, irrespective of football, any other industry, you name it. The leader has to do a good job of hiring, not doing everything themselves. In this world, content, you have to have the right editors, the right, designers, all that stuff. And similarly, in a football team, you have to have the right technical directors, the right sporting directors, the right coach. I think the CEO's job is to sort of oversee that everything is functioning correctly. I don't like the fact that the CEO was necessarily involved in negotiations at time from the looks of it last season. It's not what I would think should be the style. I think the style should be more in line with what we have this year, which is you have an Iglitari as a sporting director. You have an experienced coach in Allegri. You do both. It's tough to do both things. It's tough to have a young team with a young coach. Bayer Leverkusen is a massive anomaly, right? Young players like Frimpong, Weirts, Boniface, you name them, Ta, all these guys with a young coach and Alonso, and they go undefeated for the entire season. That's crazy. That rarely happens. You either have an experienced team with maybe a slightly younger coach who brings in new ideas, or you have a young team with an experienced coach and somebody who can help these guys and lead these guys. that's what we're seeing now from Milan. Or hoping to see now from Milan. Is it going to happen? We're going to have to wait to see. But I wouldn't say that somebody's necessarily a problem unless they're causing problems. I think the job of the CEO should be to bring in right people. And I think what the ownership group did was they tried to sort of try things, try to be creative and unique, and we're gonna bring our own twist to this. We're gonna try our own way of doing this, and I think they realized it wasn't working. And for that reason, they went with more assurance. They went with more stability. They went with more experience over experimentation. And I think that's why they brought in a 15-year veteran in the league in terms of being a director in Iglitare, and a 6-time Serie A winning coach in Massimiliano Allegri. We can say what we want about him, but we put out that graphic in the last video that Allegri is now 22 points away from being the third highest points accumulating coach in the history of the league. The third highest. The other two guys, I'm not even sure if they're I forget who Trapattoni is obviously still alive. Is he? Nereo Rocco is not. So, he's the modern day guy. So I think what we have now works for me. I favor this more than I favor what we were seeing last time around. Ming says, Ferlani trying to win the financial Ballon d'Or. Hey, that's not gonna do much for us football fans. I mean, it's not like we're getting out of the money. So we just want results on the field. For me, I want sustainable results on the field. I want results for a longer period of time. And I think that does come from sustainably spending your money. But some of the decisions that we made in the recent past, they weren't good. And the results showed. Finished in 8th. Hold on. Let's see what Fabrizio Romano is saying now. Is there a new profile that is being linked? Let me check this. Somebody commented that Milan is looking at as a new striker profile. No, that's David Odogu is not a striker. David Odogu is the center back that we're bringing on. And we got a little bit more news now coming through. More for a departure, a player leaving. From the looks of it, Samuel Chukwueze is on his way out. All details are in place for Chukwueze's move to Fulham. I think it's a good thing for everybody involved, for the coach, for the player, for really everybody. Because when Chukwueze was brought on a few seasons ago, alongside in the same transfer window where Milan signed Christian Pulisic, for a lot of us, and I would be the first one to admit to it, I thought Chukwueze was going to be the change that Milan needed. The player that is going to take this club into a different direction. I did not, quite frankly, believe that much in the Pulisic move. I was even confused why it was being done because the player was so injury prone. In one game, one goal from Pulisic in the opening match, that missile that he launched. And right off the bat, you're like, okay, maybe it's going to turn out a little bit differently. And credit to Chukwueze, on multiple occasions, these are the kind of players you like. He didn't cause issues. He didn't create negativity. He very clearly came out and said that, you know what, Pulisic, I want to play. I want to start. I want to be a consistent performer on the pitch. But there's a guy who's playing ahead of me that is consistently playing and delivering, that I can't even complain that the coach is playing him over me. And I think that's the attitude that you do need. And I'm actually really happy for Pulisic, for Chukwueze. If he gets to go to Fulham, he gets to play his way, he'll probably have a little bit more space there. He has the ability to dribble the ball. I think he's going to be an effective player there. I don't know if he's ever going to match the level that we were hoping he would match here. But in his final season with Villarreal, in the La Liga, I think it was Vinicius Jr. that was the number 1 dribbler in the league, the player that gets past more players with his own dribble. And Chukwueze was number 2, playing for Villarreal back then. So he has the skill, and hopefully he's going to have an opportunity to show that when he gets to play consistently at Fulham. So Samuel Chukwueze leaving Milan, I think a good deal for everybody. And we also have some confirmation from this guy himself. 10 minutes ago, this tweet came through from Santi Gimenez. So there we go. So he gets to stay. He's going to get a chance to prove himself unless his season goes really bad. Maybe something could change in January where they let him go. But now the guy gets 4 months, 5 months to show consistently what he's made of. And obviously, we're all going to make sure that we get behind him because it's not easy, man, to join a club after walking away from your previous club. And then, you know, it says a lot about Santi's impact at Feyenoord too, because not very often do you see that a player is going to join. Like, he joined Milan in January, and then in July, he went back to Feyenoord to have a whole send-off with the fans. And that tells you that the relationship with Feyenoord was good too. That tells you that the relationship with the fans was so good too that people actually showed up to give him that send-off. They brought in all the trophies that he won, put him on the pitch. He walked around, you know, appreciating everybody. And the fact that he did that, it you know, kind of tells you that I think it just leaves a good impression about the player for me, in my mind. You want those positive influences. Look at how Alexander Isak left Newcastle. You think that's going to happen for him? Right? How often do you see a player that's going to go back? I'm just going to open this up. How often do you see this happen? A player that goes back to his previous club, has a little presentation during a preseason friendly, goes out there, gives a speech, you know, is with the executive, getting a little, you know, token of appreciation from them. That happens with players that are good, that are positive. And he obviously left a good impression there that even 6 months later, they wanted to give him a send-off. I don't think I've ever heard of that. To me, when I heard of that, that was completely unheard of. That a player leaves the club in January and then gets a send-off in July, August. So I'm happy. I'm happy that Santi stays and now he can prove himself and now he doesn't have to worry about any, you know, any comments coming out 15 minutes before kickoff about his possible departure. I've been bad with super chats, so now I'm making sure that I take them on right away. Does Pulisic forcing Chukwueze out of Milan through his play show how far he has come as a player and how important he has been for Milan? I think Christian Pulisic has been... How do I say this? I want to be at my words are accurate. I think Pulisic is one of the top 3 signings that Milan has made in the last 15 years, probably. From a delivery standpoint and from an impact standpoint and from a turnaround standpoint. I'm really trying to think of names. 15 years would put us back to 2010. So, you know, we still had Ibrahimovic coming back. I think Ibra, Leao, maybe Tonali to some degree. You know, these have been some of the top signings, and Pulisic is definitely up there. Let's just say one of the top 5 signings that Milan has made. And yeah, it does. It absolutely shows that because he came from a club where he was not getting any type of respect. He was not getting any type of appreciation. He was essentially, let's be real, he was kicked out of there. I still hear some British journalists talk about him whenever, you know, he scores a goal, and they talk about him and they say, you know, Pulisic is not a footballer. I'm never going to believe Pulisic is a footballer. And those are goofy takes. And even Thierry Henry came out and said that, hey, I need Pulisic to score consistently. Only then, you know, we're going to talk about him when he actually does something worth talking about. And if he starts scoring goals consistently, we're going to talk about him. And then he had Pulisic on, you know, at CBS Sports. And he said it to his face. He's like, now you're giving us a reason to talk about you because you're so consistent. And that's a great turnaround story for a player like Christian. That's why when there were some reports coming out that he might leave, I thought those to be a little bit odd because I felt like he finally found a home somewhere. Why would he want to, make another change? But I do think that if Milan doesn't find their way this year, this season has to go the right way. And if it doesn't go the right way, I do think there's some risk of star players wanting to just be out now, because including Leao, because they have committed themselves to the club. Pulisic has. Leao has been here for 6 years now almost. He has been here for 6 years. 6 years is a long time. It's an eternity almost in today's world of football. And not a lot of young players do that, especially if the team isn't playing well. So this season has to be different. But you're right, Christian Pulisic has really shown how he's really evolved. We got Anthony here, my friend. Once again, ciao, Kush. If I have to give a grade on this Mercato, I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. I think about as much as I would say 2. I would probably crank it up a little bit more towards a 7. I like the improvements in the midfield and like Nkunku, but we still have holes at center back and no backup striker to Santi. I think part of the backup striker to Santi in this formation is probably Nkunku, which might not say too much, but I do think it does make some sense because he has the knack to be able to score goals. He showed it last season at times. I know he played against the Conference League sides and he scored a lot of goals there. I'm not denying that. But he has, he was scoring goals for Leipzig in the Bundesliga too, out and out goals. So I think he can do that, but I do understand that, you want somebody, you want more of a certainty. You want something that you would have definitively known was, like if you had somebody like Dovbyk, then you would feel like, okay, you know what, we have somebody. So I understand the point, but I'm not too mad at it, to be honest. I'd crank it up to a 7. But yes, the center back position is the one that I'm more concerned about, especially if you're going to play a three-man back line. And maybe that concern is more so there because we haven't seen Akanji de Winter play yet. And if he plays and he shows that he's got that quality, I would feel a little bit better that, okay, you know what, we have a fourth option as well. And Odogu, we're going to have to see how he is. Very young, not a very high price tag. So just like Etekame, I hope these are good signings, but we're going to have to really wait to see about that. Center back concerns me too. I got to be honest. Gabe says, what do you think if Pavlovic leaves to go to Palace? I don't think it's going to happen, Gabe. I think he's going to be here. That would be a massive shock to me because we already are weak or thin with our center backs. Revi says, Thuram will eat Odogu. Well, for that, he's going to have to play first. Let's see how he is. And there we go. Okay, so we're getting some confirmation about him as well. Yes, we are. Odogu will sign his contract with Milan, 7 million transfer plus 3 million in bonuses. So Wolfsburg did pretty good with this move. You got to say, financially, this is not a bad move for them compared to what the transfer market value was showing for the player, about $1.5 million. They've tenfolded that to almost 10 million. How are we? Okay, we're about an hour and a half into the stream now. I gotta get more comfortable. You know how streamers do their streams, man? They're so casual. I feel like I'm like so stressed out. Not stressed out, but just like so antsy. I gotta get comfy. Okay, lean back. Let's see what else is there. Aramis says Rabiot is official after his medical. I think I like the Rabiot deal. I think I'm happy with that, especially after the departure of who did we lose? Sorry. Oh my god, my setup here. Especially after the departure of Musah and the injury to Yashari, we definitely needed some type of a confirmation because there were some concerns. And this is what I like is that we knew that Musah was almost on his way out, and then suddenly Yashari picks up that injury, and then suddenly we start hearing that, oh, you know what, maybe Musah now stays for now, his move is on pause. And even though I think the sporting director came out before after the Lecce game that, yeah, you know what, that's on pause right now, we're going to have to see. So I think back in the day, maybe about a season ago or maybe 2 seasons ago, the club would have said, you know what, no, we have Musah. We don't need to really sign anybody else. But no, they still stuck with that departure of Musah. And I think that's the Allegri impact. And they signed Agent Rabiot. So losing Yashari for 3 months potentially at this point in time, it doesn't make you fill up with that much fear because you know a player like Rabiot is decent. Is decent. Someone asked me a question. Let's go back to that. Pulisic as box crasher with Yashari, Rabiot, and Ricci in 3-man midfield. Yashari, Rabiot, and Ricci. Well, they're probably not going to... Well, Yashari's out for 3 months. So, let's say Ricci, Rabiot, and Modric. I just don't think Pulisic is going to play that role behind the striker. Or even... Where does that put Leao then? And where does that put Santi? Or if we go with a 4-3-3, which is kind of what Milan has played at times. They have played the 4-3-3 at times. So, I don't know, man. The formation thing is very confusing. And the coach even came out and said that, hey, formations are not everything. It's also about how we play when we're, the game is more fluid. These are not pieces on a magnetic board. These guys have to move in a certain manner too. So, I guess we're going to have to see how they're going to actually do it. Arana says, Rabiot is a complete midfielder. What's not to like? What's not to like? Well, some fans are usually just critical. So I think part of it comes from that. You can also say that the fact that he's been playing at Marseille, playing in Liga, he's not necessarily playing anymore at that highest level. The fact that his move actually happened and got expedited because of disciplinary issues, as we said, it was like a pub fight is what the coach said, is what he had with a teammate. So if you're going to let go of Gimenez due to disciplinary issues, you then are going to bring in Rabiot, who has way more serious of physical freaking assault happening. So there might be some question marks about why that decision was made. But yeah, if we just focus on the football and not on anything off the field stuff, then to me, I'm not going to complain about the Rabiot move. It actually makes me feel good that Yashari is out, but at least we have somebody here. And here we go. Andin Petrovsky, thank you very much for the super chat again, my friend. We needed an experienced center back. We signed a 19-year-old with 3 senior games. Also, we needed a striker in addition to Gimenez. Disappointing. Andin, I'm with you when it comes to the center back role. You're not going to get any debates from me. I think if Odogu shows up the way that in the past Malik Tau showed up in that season, in Maldini's final season, good. We may have found a really good player, a good find at a good price, and we'll flip him in 3 years for 40 million. Who knows? But if he doesn't deliver, then there's risk. And if Coney de Winter cannot be relied upon for the center back role, then that's a concern. So when it comes to this position, I am also a little bit concerned. Now, in terms of Gimenez replacement or a backup striker, I think that's Nkunku. Seeing if they're going to stick with the 3-5-2, I think that's going to be Nkunku. I know it doesn't make a lot of people happy, but I think that is what it is. And then, I picked up your comment again. They disappointed us in this last day. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I took your comment, so I understand where you're coming from. Dr. Adam Hodge says, who is our right back now? So, based on the formation that we're playing with a wing back, right? So, right now, the right wing back is Alexis Salamakers, and you have a 3-man back line. So, Alexis, I would say. De Winter is a player who can play on the right flank and can play as a center back, more like a Kalulu maybe. So, he can also play on the right. And then Atakame is your out-and-out right back. But his experience is also limited. So, his in terms of top tier, top level. So we're going to have to see. I think he played, for Young Boys in Switzerland? So that's only saying so much. Someone's asking, is Musah's out? Yes, Musah's out, gone to Atalanta on a loan with an option to buy. Would have been better off signing Kone rather than Fofana last season. I mean, yeah. In hindsight, yes. And he was even a player we were linked with. I made videos about Manuel Kone. I was like, oh, yes, this is the player. I would actually like him. Nope. And who knows, back then, if maybe we had a sporting director, we would have gone with Kone instead. Okay. Didad says, no way Pulisic is in top 3, bro. Ibra, Thiago Silva. Well, see, Thiago Silva wasn't in the last 15 years, so I was a little clever with that one. Thiago was 2008, I think, if I'm not mistaken. 8. Yeah, I think Thiago Silva was 2008. Rafael Leao, yes. Magic Mike, agreed. Tonali, yes. But Tonali just left, right? So Tonali is a little different because I was more looking at also pieces that are still here. Theo are above him. Okay, so I would put Ibra above him, yes. I would put Thiago Silva wasn't in the right time. Rafael Leao, 100%, yes. Mike Maignan, I would say yes. Won a title, goalkeeper of the season. Tonali, fair. That's debatable, I would say, but sure. Theo Hernandez, yes. So that's why I said top 5. So I think he's falling around 5th or 6th right now. I did rephrase that and I said, if not top 3, at least top 5. Francesco's been cooking for a while. I've seen a few comments from you. We're cooked. We're cooked. We're cooked. Let's see, Francesco. And I think I picked this one up already. Jovan Parenzi says, Santi showed on the weekend after scoring that disallowed goal just how much he loves Milan and wants to fight for the Rossoneri. Yeah, and that's sometimes that's what you want. You want players that have the fire, that have the intensity, that have a reason to prove themselves. And so a comfortable Santi, knowing that his position is not under any doubt, is a Santi that might be is not one I would prefer. I'd rather have the Santi that has the fiery need to have to prove himself. So I'm okay with how these things turned out. I'm not too mad at it. Bernard says Rabiot scored 10 to 11 goals last season. In Ligue 1, gotta say, but even if it translates to almost half of that, 6-7, I'm okay with it. Edvin says, we needed a center back and got a 19-year-old. Merda got Akanji. Yeah, man. Akanji, that one hurt me too. I saw that this morning. I wasn't happy about that. Exactly. Matt, how are you, my friend? I haven't seen you in a while. Rabiot is France's Swiss Army knife midfielder. He can pretty much cover all. That's why I like him, is because he's versatile. He's experienced. He has had a history of playing really well under Allegri. So not too much to be upset about. Gabe says, check Fabrizio's tweet about, let's see, Chukwueze. Let me pull this up. I only see one tweet from Fabrizio, and this is pretty good. This is what we have been expecting. And that is that Samuel... there we go. Samuel Chukwueze to Fulham. Here we go. Agreed on initial loan with buy option. Clause not mandatory. Okay. I'm not sure if I love the loan. Okay. They have an option. Total package could reach over 26 million. He's now at Fulham training ground after medical already done. I guess not being a buy is maybe something that bothers me a little bit but the pricing is fine. 25 to 26 million kind of makes sense. I think that's about what Milan paid for him, around 20 million. So I'm not too mad at that. Yeah, I'm not too mad at the price. But the Rossoneri have made so many moves in terms of getting money in that I guess if they wait it out and see how it goes, that's how it goes. But loan with an option to buy, Chukwueze is out of here. Child Space says Akanji is, to be fair. He's not though, man. I don't think he is. I think he's got the experience. I want experienced players. You think Milan, when they signed Simon Kjær 5 years ago, they did it because he was a top player or because he just could lead the backline a bit? And I think Akanji can do that. Oh, Reaper Gaming says they sold Pavard? Hold the phone. Did they? Where is he going? Oh, wow. They did. Interesting. Inter's doing interesting things. So, okay. That's interesting. So Pavard is out. Loan deal from Inter with salary covered plus 15 million buy option. Goes to Marseille. So what is Inter doing with their defense? I feel like if our defense is weak, theirs to me seems even weaker. I mean, they did lose their game against Udinese at the San Siro. I mean, San Siro, for the opening couple of games for both the clubs, has been a bit of a tough ground. Cremonese beat Milan 2-1. Udinese beat Inter 2-1. So let's see this. Let's just check in on what's going on in the rest of the world of football, not just our world. There's about 526 of you guys here. I appreciate it big time for you guys being here. Once again, we are about 233 likes, 526 people. Let's crank it over 300. I would really appreciate that. I asked this a few sporadically here and there, but just it's nice to see that number go up. It's fun for us all, I think. It's fun for me at least. Okay, now I'm just curious what is going on in the rest of the football world too. I don't want to just see what's going on with Milan. Once again, since there's about 500 of you guys here, I would have liked to have played a little snippet of a video that I put together. This video is about Donnarumma. I think it's one of my best videos that I've created. I'm going to be posting it either tonight or tomorrow. You know what? Let me just ask you guys. Donnarumma is most likely going to Manchester City. At this point in time, seems like a done deal. I have a video about him. Should I put it out tonight or should I put it out tomorrow night after the transfer market sort of settles down? I'm just curious. Just when would you guys want to watch it? I guess you'd want to watch it whenever I put it out. But it's a good one. I think it might be one of my best works. So take a look at it. Let me know what you think. But let me know in the comments as well. Now, in the rest of the football world, this is what's happening. Oh, there we go. The moment I said it. Oh, sorry. That's his pinned post. So that's not quite right away. Donnarumma to Manchester City. Here we go. Deal done. Italian goalkeeper leaves Paris. Medical this afternoon. Long-term deal agreed weeks ago. All done between the two clubs. Ederson signed for Fenerbahce. This is going to be interesting. And this is going to be interesting for a very simple reason. That what Ederson did with his feet, Donnarumma doesn't do with his feet. And with a style of football that you feel like Pep Guardiola wants to play, playing out from the back, it's either going to put Donnarumma into a whole other level in terms of, his quality with his feet, but I do have some doubts. Dude, that scar of his is gnarly, man. I think he picked it up in a game too, so that's a war wound for sure. Okay, who else is moving where? Oh, Victor Boniface. Here we go. He passed his medical, so maybe something could have been done here too. Victor Boniface is signed for Werder Bremen. Contract till 2026 June. Loan with part of the salary covered. Medical completed. Whoa. And that's maybe why they have this picture. because he wasn't really happy about how things are happening. He was even DMing Fabrizio Romano about things. There we go. There's Chukweze's news. Kolo Muani just signed a contract as a new Tottenham player. That is interesting. Very interesting. Because for a lot of Juventus fans, they wanted him. They were really hoping that this comes through, and not quite. Fulham is really doing work here. This is the one that surprised me a lot. Mark Gahey, medical completed in London with player waiting for Palace green light to sign at Liverpool. After Igor deal collapsed as replacement, Crystal Palace set to make decision. Oh, interesting. I did not know this. How long ago was this? Oh, this is only half an hour ago. So this deal has some risk. That's why maybe we're talking about Pavlovic. Crystal Palace coming for Straina. Benfica, Victor Boniface. Santiago Gimenez confirms stays at Milan. Rasmus Højlund and Napoli official statement coming. This is what I'm curious about now. For a lot of Milan fans, I feel like there's this slightly unreasonable way of thinking where if we want Højlund, it's a bad deal. But the moment Napoli wants him, oh, now suddenly, why don't we go for him? Because I saw some fans saying, oh, Napoli hijacked that deal. It's like, well, some of you guys were complaining about that deal. It wasn't even good enough. So now why are we just finding something to complain about? All right. Tonight. Everybody says tonight. We appreciate you for this deadline live stream. This was a very last minute decision, Ming Jielo. I just woke up this morning. It's a day off in Canada, so we have a long weekend. Today's Labor Day. I think it's Labor Day in the US too. So our Mondays are off. And I was a little tired, but then I saw so much news popping up. I was like, you know what? Let's just cook something up last minute. Let's just do something last minute. Can I shortlist our transfer window arrival and departure? Yes, I can definitely do that. Let's just wait for the Mercato to close up, and I'll open it up and we'll chat about it. Are we linked to anyone else after the Joe Gomez deal fell through? Shouldn't we be linked to more experienced center backs? Yeah, we should be, man. I think we're making a bit of a mistake. I haven't seen De Winter play, but this is a role. This is the line that I'm concerned about, is the back line. Tonight, all right, video about Donnarumma. Maybe will come out tonight then. He has already signed. You're right. Donnarumma has signed after transfer market is closed. So, yeah, I think tonight is what we're going to do. Wait, the Gomez deal fell through? Yes, the Gomez deal did fall through. Hold on. I do want to check something in regards to that. So I'm just going to read here as to what happened. Let's just quickly look this up. Okay. Here's what happened with the deal. It's saying that one of the reasons why it fell through was because Liverpool were reluctant to sanction the move without securing a replacement. They were hesitant to let Gomez go because of his versatility and leadership. But they found Mark Gahey. I guess that's the problem, is that the Gahey deal hasn't fully gone through. Like even right now, half an hour ago, Fabrizio Romano tweeted that they still have to give the final approval. The Mark Gahey move to Liverpool has to be approved by Crystal Palace after another one of their center back replacements didn't happen. So Crystal Palace wants their replacement first, then they want to sell Gahey. Similarly, Liverpool want to make sure that they actually get Gahey first before they sell Gomez. So I guess for Liverpool, they're not really in a need to let go of Gomez. And for that reason, maybe the market was just getting too tight. Yeah, that's what it says. Insufficient time. There was an agreement close to 15 million and Gomez was open to the move, but Liverpool had to prioritize squad balance and the lack of time with Milan is likely what has led to its collapse. So, collapse. So yeah, unfortunately, Gomez is not coming to Milan. Would have been the right one. Someone else says tonight. All right. Stick to matches and players, bro. For what, Michelle? No, I don't think there's any chance of getting Christensen. Kush, will you do a Serie A prediction video after transfer market? I don't know. I don't know if a lot of you guys know this. How many of you guys are here? Let's just share this with you. I think a lot of you guys probably already know where I'm going with this. But there's about still over almost 500 of you guys here. So, yeah, I won't be making a Serie A prediction video, mostly because I'm leaving for Milan in about a week, and I'm going to be in Milan for the months to come. And for that reason, it's going to be tough to really cook up any more content at this point for me. Maybe just a match review, but there's no games coming up as the international break. So for that reason, it's going to be tough for me to put together any videos. I just have to focus on packing all this equipment. I mean, not all this. This is going to be hard to take there. But I got to take my equipment there. Lights, too much stuff I got to take there. I have to get it set up and all that. So I'm going to be really busy. So no videos until, for a little bit at least. So no predictions video, unfortunately. So Joshua says, Inter having what I can call a dumpster fire of a transfer. In the Premier League, it's a hot take that whoever wins the league will be a surprise given how everyone has played so far. I think Liverpool are favorites, though, to be quite honest, based on what they're doing and what kind of movements they've made. I think they're going to win this, or they're at least favorites to win it. Arsenal is a close one. Some people call Chelsea a dark horse, but I don't know if that's going to happen, but who knows? As much as I want to, X says, as much as I want to be optimistic, I don't see us finishing top 3 with this team. What is the status with Adli and Benacer? Let's see what's, I'll look into the Adli Benacer situation, but top 3, I got to see a little bit more from this team because the way that they played against Cremonese was embarrassing. But the way that they played against Lecce was professional. It still felt like we're constantly putting out fires with the attacks that they were putting in, and the defense really had to perform. Can the defense do that all the time? But can, more importantly, the defense do that against top teams? That's the part we have to wait to see. But the first 4 or 5 games for Milan, they have to pick up 3 points from every single one of them. Cremonese loss was very disappointing. They don't have time to make those mistakes. They have to get results right off the bat to get that confidence. So I won't say anything right now. The next game is Milan-Bologna. I will be at the San Siro for that one. And I'll tell you what I see there. Dr. Eden says, bro went from Akanji to Ice Spice to Vronx 2.0. Yeah. Well, hopefully not Vronx 2.0. Let's not be unkind to him. Arana says, does Werder know how to do a medical? Yeah, well, I mean, he passed it. Fuji's and Funyuns. Oh, it's nice to see you, my friend. That's because Donnarumma has a two-face. My video about Donnarumma is going to be a fair analysis of everything that has happened in his career. But it's just, production-wise, it's I don't think I've ever created a better video than that. And hopefully that's the new standard of content that you're going to get on this channel. So just wait to see. Can I play the trailer for you guys? Let me see if I have an option to play trailer. I think the biggest problem is you might not hear my desktop audio. So if I even play a trailer for you, it won't actually have any of the audio in it. Let's give it a try. Why not? Okay, if I put on... Okay, you know what? Let me put on one of my own videos so that I don't have any copyright issues happening. Okay. Is that audio going to you guys? No, it's not. Okay, good. So let me see this. And okay, yeah, it might be too much work for me to figure this out right now with the live stream on with you guys here. But you'll see. You'll see. The video will come out tonight, most likely, or tomorrow. And I hope you guys enjoy it. Now, Liverpool and Milan have both parties agreed there wouldn't be enough time to complete a medical for Gomez. There we go. That's probably why. All right, so it's lack of time, and more than lack of time, I think also lack of clarity for both clubs. More importantly, lack of clarity for Liverpool as to how their defense is going to look like if that Guehi move was going to happen or not. Wusha, Game Central says 30 minutes left. Time is running up, running out. Go. Time is running out. Okay, let's see. Let's clock back into the Mercato and see what Fabrizio Romano, Matteo Moretto, what those guys are saying. What's the latest from Fabs? Okay, let's just focus on Milan now since there's little time left. Okay, let me see this. Oh, there we go. Okay. Andrea Bellotti is making a move too. All right, so Andrea Bellotti is one step away from Cagliari, from Como. Okay, so he's leaving Como. Most people are trying to go there. He's bouncing. Benvenuto Rasmus. Is that Aurelio De Laurentiis' official? Oh, yes, it is. Okay. So that's the official page, and he has just tweeted out Benvenuto Rasmus Højlund. So Højlund to Napoli is done. So it looks like if a Turkey club is showing interest in Atalanta's forward Ademola Lookman, then that Inter deal is completely off. No last minute possibilities of anything happening. Well, since Donnarumma is trending, I definitely should be putting out the video today. Odogu has arrived. There he is. Is he done with his medical? Is it official yet? Chukwueze deal done. There it is. That's the video of him arriving. Rabiot to Milan is done. Yeah, I mean, with 30 minutes left, we're not going to suddenly hear about a new profile or anything. This is pretty much, to me, this pretty much signals the end of the Mercato for Milan. It'd have to be an absolute shock if anything even happens. But let's see what we're getting here. Hold on, let me read this. Didier Deschamps has come out and said that Rabiot found a way out of Marseille. Adrien Rabiot will join us tonight. He supported the medical visits. That will take some time to allow him to sign for Milan. Sometimes I don't have all the information. This is Deschamps talking about his player Rabiot for the French team. We don't interfere in what happens with the clubs between the player, coach, and managers. The important thing is that there is an offer suitable for the player. What happened, happened. Many people expressed themselves. I have nothing against the clubs. They run as they see fit. Adrian has found a way out. Even if it was not planned at the beginning of the preparation, this is the main thing. And I think that is the main thing, is that initially when there were links of Milan going for Rabiot, I think even Rabiot came out, or someone came out from their side and said, no, there's no chance. He doesn't want to leave Marseille. Sorry, I got something on that. I need a napkin. He doesn't want to leave Marseille. And then suddenly, this fight happened with another teammate. A physical altercation took place with the teammate. And De Zerbi says, you're out. You can't be here anymore. So we won't sign an actual defender. We're signing random 19-year-olds. African Union says, yeah. Unfortunately, yes. We're not getting any top level experienced defender. Experienced center back almost this entire transfer window. We're getting fusion players like De Winter and now Odogu. Okay, let's see Andre's comment. Why are we Milan fans upset about Why are we Milan fans upset with the Odogu deal when it's basically the same as Leone? There's only 8-game difference between the two. Yes, I agree we should get an experienced center back. Odogu will be good. I gotta check this. I need to do my own verification about this. Giovanni Leone has, in his career, I would say he has a little bit more experience. But yeah, you know what? Playing in Serie A, 17 games for Parma last season. 17 games, a goal scored. See, that's what I mean, right? Like, let's be a little bit even-handed here. You look at a player like Yashari. Yes, he's young. He's only had one good season with Club Brugge, but still, at least, you know, he's the player of the season, the young player of the season. There's some cachet there. Leone is 17 games. You really want Milan to pay 40 million euros for a player that has played 17 professional games at the top flight? That's asking for quite a bit. So, same thing with Odogu for that reason, but Odogu at least is a 7 million buy, right? It's not a 40 million euro buy. Now, I think the debate necessarily about Odogu and Leone is not really the point for me. I don't think that's really important. Now that the Mercato is about to close, what is important is why no one else? We needed a quality center back. We would have really benefited from one. Unless it is Allegri who is saying, hey, you know what? I think because look, he pushed for Rabiot at the end and Milan got Rabiot. So he has that impact where he's going to say and demand certain players. He could have demanded a center back. It's possible that Allegri said, you know what I have right now, I think I could work with these guys. I think Gabbia, Tomori, and Pavlovic are good. I just need to get them to work in a certain manner, and I'm okay with a competent backup. And with De Winter already there, maybe they didn't want to overcrowd that back line. But I guess they did go for Gomez. They did go for Akanji. So, you know what? I'm actually second-guessing my own comment now. So they did want someone, and they just failed to get someone. I think that is what happened. Because otherwise, then they wouldn't have gone for Akanji or for Gomez. They would have just gone for Odogu from the get-go. So, yeah. So, I think that's the one spot that Milan has missed out on for sure from their center-back standpoint. I think it's been a decent Mercato. I don't agree with some people who are rating it too low. I'm actually definitely not agreeing with that. But yeah, it has been a Mercato that has left a little bit left to be desired. Now, I do feel like I kind of got to go to the washroom real quick, so if you guys can be patient with me a little bit. But let's see how much time is left. I think Milan did make an offer or were interested in Kim Min-jae, right? At Bayern, and they were basically just told no. So yeah, they definitely were going for center back names. Clearly they were. Damien says, okay, you know what? Let me just leave this comment up here. You guys let me know what you think about that. In that time, I gotta quickly run to the bathroom. So just give me a second and I'll be back. This Gimenez comment is the one that I did want to touch up on. I did kind of talk about it at the beginning of the stream, but I just thought, let's just chat about it one more time. I think from a talent standpoint, you might be right. Milan would probably regret letting go of a player who's clearly shown to have decent quality in moments, but he's also shown to have slightly questionable temperament. And I think when you have a situation where you're trying to, why do you think Milan signed Modric? Right? The reason why they signed Modric is to create an example, is to have leadership in the team, is to show them that there's a way to do this. It's not just about how many assists did you get or how many goals did you score. It's also about what is your temperament like? What is your behavior like? What kind of leadership and growth do you show as a human being, as a person? It's not always just about dribbling the ball, right? Because if that was the case, Ronaldinho would arguably be the greatest of all time, but he's not. Some would say Messi, Ronaldo, whatever. Let's not get into that debate. But if you look at the kind of work that Ronaldo has put in, it hasn't just been about his ability to score goals. It's about his effort. It's about how much he's taking care of himself and how his temperament is during training. And that's what Ronaldo even openly talks about at times, that the kind of quality of players that I'm training with, I don't see any of these guys being good enough. And he, I think, specifically said that about Manchester United. And look at where the club has been since he's even been gone. They're just tanking. And that's where they're letting go of players because they don't have the right temperament and they don't have the right professionalism and commitment. And so if the coach in Allegri has warned Gimenez on multiple occasions that you're being late for training, and obviously, why does a person come late for training? Very likely, it's not that their alarm is just not working every morning. It's probably because they are going for maybe late nights, right? They're living the life. And if the coach is warning you, this is one report from Nicolo Schira that came out that he was warned on three occasions that he was late for training and he did not stop. He kept getting late. That the coach then has to say that, hey, on one end, I'm trying to bring players like Modric to the club. I'm trying to create this environment that the 8th place Milan cannot exist anymore and it has to be a more professional team. And in the same breath, I have to hold on to a player that has been warned on multiple occasions as being late. He has to cut his ties. It's not like it's the biggest loss for Milan with Gimenez leaving. I think I've heard about this for so many players. Even for Adli, I used to hear about this. Oh, if Milan loaned out Adli, what a big loss. They're going to regret it. You think the club is stupid. The club knows what they're doing. And I think they also see the upside. If Real Madrid, they have a little bit of a hook in him still, but Real Madrid isn't fighting back with Milan and saying, we want him back. They're just like, okay, we'll keep an eye on what you guys are doing with him there. So clearly nobody's fully buying into him. And if his temperament is not good on the field or and his training methods are not acceptable to the coach, then you kind of going to have to go. It's just, I guess, just how it is. Stingan Ciano Vlad. Estupinian, Pavlovic, Gabia, Salamakers. Okay, so that's your back line. So you're playing a 4-man back line. Rabiot, Modric, Rubin. Okay, 3-man midfield. Leao, Nkunku, and Pulisic. So that's your lineup. See, the 4-3-3 is the issue, but I think he's going to play 4-3-3 on occasion for sure. So I would say defensive issues. I can see defensive problems happening here because Estupinian has not shown the best quality till now. Pavlovic has been hot and cold. Gabi, I think, is more so reliable. Salamakers is more of a wing back to me. He's not really a right back because the defensive load on him as a right back is going to be a lot. I think the reason why he can play so freely as a wing back is because he has a 3-man back line that can protect his, forward movements. So I see defensive frailties here. Rabiot, I'm okay with. Modric makes sense, but then again, we got Loftus-Cheek. So now if we have Loftus-Cheek there, then once again, we're looking at defensive risks. We might have to put Ricci in there. Up top, Leao and Nkunku Pulisic. Again, Leao doesn't really help out with defense, and I don't think that's going to change too much this season. I think he's actually going to get more license from Allegri to just go out there and attack. Nkunku also not very helpful defensively. So my biggest problem with this is that this is a decent formation if you're looking to equalize, score goals with 25 minutes to go, 20 minutes to go. But this one is not going to be a starting lineup for Milan because not just a little bit imbalanced, especially with the kind of coach that we have. Still a decent lineup though, gotta say. Eve says, I don't think they are good. Tomori, Pavlovic, and Gabbia are so uncomfortable with the ball. Pavlovic isn't too bad with the ball though. Pavlovic can run with the ball, to be fair. I mean, maybe defensively, I think for me the biggest problem with Pavlovic and Tomori is their positioning. They just somehow just drifted in games. Even in the last game against Lecce at one point in time, the way that Pavlovic just drifted towards the left flank, I'm like, dude, where are you going? Protect the middle. It's a 3-man backline for a reason. And this was when Lecce was attacking, so it felt odd to me. Gabbia, I'm not too mad about. Sijit Addy says, pretty good Mercato, actually. I think so, too. 7.5 out of 10 for me. I'm about there, too. Shane Biscuit says, we're going to get bombed with crosses from our right side again. Yes. If you notice in the match against Lecce and even in the match against Cremonese, that was their method of attacking us, was constant crosses coming from the flanks. That means a clear indication to the opposition that when the ball is crossed into the box, their defenders can get panicked and can lose their shape and manage improperly. Not, looking, scanning, and seeing where other bodies are. They sort of just go a little bit chaotic. So, yeah, that is something that we saw in both the opening matches, and Allegri has to cover that part. Yeah, Esvorian, you're right. 2 days ago, it was decided that Milan will go for a center back, but they just couldn't get it done. Yeah, I think so too. I was thinking of saying that, okay, you know what, blah blah blah, but I'm questioning myself. They should have gotten it. Ming, I would rather do that, my friend. 100%, I'd rather do that. I'll be happy with a Gargantuan signing for sure. Jean-Paul says, is there a cricket in Kush's room? You know what? You're right. I just picked this up. I thought you were talking about the sport. But I can hear it too. Now that you said it. I probably shouldn't have said it out loud to you guys because now you won't miss it. No, it's definitely here. Yeah, Seth. I think Santi just needs a little bit of confidence. He's a Milanista at the end of the day. I think he deserves another shot. Yeah, I'm with the Santi situation. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with him staying. I have no issues with it. Sorry, I'm just seeing if there's any. There are some super chats I want to cover. I want to make sure I cover. Okay, I saw that one. Thank you very much, Sweat, for a win for the super chat. I appreciate it big time. I already covered this one. Sweat for a win says, RLC, Modric, and Rabiot should start in the mid. Loftus-Cheek, Modric, and Rabiot. I'm okay with putting Fofana on the bench, for sure. Either you need improvement from Fofana, consistent improvement, or he has to get benched. So I'm okay with that. I don't mind this. I'm happy with this. I do want to find a way to put Ricci on the field too. That's the only thing that I would want to see how Milan can manage. But let's be real, Modric is not consistently going to be playing 90 minutes. It's unlikely, at least. If staying, Jean-Paul Alfaro says, if staying, Ismail and Adli will become like Origi. Dude, this I gotta look it up. Yeah, that cannot happen because they're good players. So, I mean, use them. Why would we do that? Okay, let's see what Klo has to say. Klo Pop says, why would Milan not sign Uchi from Getafe? Oh, I don't want to pretend to know these guys. I mean, I know some of these guys, but I think Openda is going to Roma, isn't he? Must be not part of their scouting system. That's all that I can say. I wouldn't say that these are players that I'm watching all the time, so I can specifically comment on that. Okay, Chloe, I took your question. Now let's lay off. I do see some spams here from you. Yeah, that's what John Paul is saying. I don't see them training with the team. Oh, Openda to Juventus. Sorry, not Roma. My bad. Yeah. I think that would be a mistake. Why? Why put Adli and Benacer on like with the youth team and all that? Use them. You have him. You're paying their salary. Why won't you just include them in the system and use them? That would be goofy for me to do. So I would 100% play those guys. I don't think they deserve to go the Origi route. And they haven't even done some of the things that Origi has done, right? Origi was just outright saying no to any move. But if Adli and Benacer are not getting the right move, I think both Benacer and Adli want to leave at this point in time. But if they're not getting the right exit, then what can they do? Eve says, why doesn't Ricci play from the start? I feel that Allegri is making too many changes in the formation. I should just stick with one formation. But that's his style, Eves. His style is one where he makes fluid changes in game. Now, should he be starting with Ricci? I would say so. I think he should be starting with Ricci as well. I think Ricci should be playing over Fofana right now. Use Benacer instead of Fofana? Yeah. Tripta, I agree. I would 100%, man. I love Benacer. I was sad when he left. It makes sense that he left, but I was sad when he left. And I'll be okay with that. Okay, how much time is left? Are there 5 minutes left in the transfer window? Man, we got to jump into Fabrizio Romano's Twitter page on Matteo Moretto and see what's going on. Okay, let's see if there are any updates about Milan. Okay, Atletico Madrid. We don't know who that is. Gimenez cites Premier League dream as reason for making Bournemouth switch. Good. Live your dream, buddy. Just be on time for training. Pavard goes to Marseille. Contracts of Rabiot and Odorgu with Milan have been officially deposited in Liga Serie A. Somebody says, who cares? More useless quantity over quality. I don't know about that, my friend. Well, Odorgu, I guess we're going to have to wait to see, but he's too young. It's not like we're depending on him to change the entire team. 4-year contract with Milan for Odorgu, sorry. Yeah, that seems to be it. That seems to be Milan's Mercato. So I guess the biggest signing that we're expecting was Adrian Rabiot that came in yesterday. So transfer deadline day for Milan was not much that happened. Now let's see what is happening in the rest of the world of football. But at this point in time, I mean, what can really be happening anyways? Okay, Nico Jackson deal have been signed. He's a Bayern player. So this was a player that Milan was also linked with, Nicholas Jackson. And he's making a move to Bayern now. That's pretty impressive. Because a lot of Milan fans are saying that Milan should not be signing Jackson. How do you feel about the fact that Barcelona are the ones that actually are going for him now? Brillembolo, another guy. He signed a contract as a new Rennes player. So Rennes, he was another guy that was being linked with Milan. With the Nazi signings, Rasmus Højlund, 6 million loan fee plus a 44 million buy option. Wow, that's spending money. That's spending money, man. And he's known, Aurelio De Laurentiis is not always the best spender, but he did it here. Isak for 130 million. Yeah, that's a crazy one. Premier League record. Sorry, Bayern. Is that what I said? Or I said Barca. My bad. Yeah, he went to Bayern. M. Rafael A. Walter says, Benacer should be implemented in the system as a backup. I don't get why hate towards him from majority of Milan fan. He gave his all to the jersey, and I truly believe he could add quality. You know, my thing about the Benacer thing is that, you know, Marseille didn't want to keep him either. So obviously there has been a drop-off in quality. And I'm the first one to always protect Benacer. Love that guy. Love his approach to the game, his humility towards the game, and his effort that he used to put in. But I think those injuries have limited his game flow. But would I want to see him get relegated to Milan Futuro or, like, you know, training with those guys? I would not be happy with that. He does not deserve that. He's a winner with the club. To do that to Fode Ballo-Touré, although he also won a title with the club, but to do that to Divock Origi, I kind of still understand that a little bit because, you know, Origi became a bit of a problem child. He was the highest paid player on the team, one of the highest paid players on the team, and he was not playing at all. So relegating him to that makes sense. But Benacer has been a good, honest servant to the club for about 6 years. At least his tenure with Milan has been 6 years old. So, yeah, I wouldn't be happy with that move. Someone says we will fight for top 6 like dogs. Let's see, man. I don't want to get negative right off the bat. Can't wait to hear Allegri's next presser about Odogu. Probably he's going to say, I don't know how to use him either. All right. Is the market closed? I think we're there now. Okay, there's more donations, so let me take these donations as well. Man, you guys have been so generous today, honestly. I honestly mean it from the bottom of my heart. There's so many donations that have come in today. And right before I leave for Italy, it helps. Trust me. Italy's not a cheap place. Sorry, Milan is not a cheap place. Rest of Italy, I feel like is not as bad, but Milan is ridiculously expensive. So I'll take them all right now. Pietro, oh, my friend. How's it going? Okay. Ciao, Kush. Make sure to stop for a pizza at Biga, or gelato at Chiaccio. When you are in Milano, best joints in town. Done, buddy. Let me write it down. I need all the recommendations I can get. I'll be exploring Milan quite extensively, obviously, since I'll be there for a few months. What I'm looking forward to is, you know, just creating content from there, going to the stadium, watching the games. Thank you again, Pietro. I really appreciate it, my friend. I don't know if you're in Milan. If you're in Milan, let's say hi. Arana says, "How's your Italian?" You know what the problem with my Italian is? I'm shy. I get nervous and I get shy, and I gotta get over that, because trust me, when I am in Milan, or at least when I was in Rome, and I have a Peroni or two, it comes out. It flows. Probably flows incorrectly, but I can still get the point across. But without it, like even right now, I want to say some phrases, but I get shy. But no, it's improving. I've had a teacher for about 2 months now. I've gotten much better, much improved. Why do we sign so many mid 20 million players? We could have signed 3 elite players instead. But man, we signed Yashari for 35 million. We signed Nkunku for first of all, thank you for your super chat, Z. I appreciate it big time. But we did sign elite players too this time. I mean, elite is I guess how you define elite. Do you define elite if they're more than 30 million or closer to 40 million? Is that what elite is? Is elite somebody who is just an outright great player, has no injury history, etc.? That's a different elite. But Yashari is almost 40 million and Nkunku is surpassing 40 million. I can't believe we signed that guy for more than 40 million. To me, that's crazy, but that is what we're doing. So I wouldn't say that it's only been mid 20 million players. I think it's more about finding effective players. I think this critique of the 20 million players, I don't like it that much. And I'll tell you why, because so many players, so many great players at Milan signed. Let me just open this up for you, right? Because it's just going to be easier to visualize this. Because I've heard this criticism about the 20 million players, and I think that's why I kind of want to show something to you guys here. All right, so let's go into this season of ours. Okay, there we go. So this is a good season to really pick up on. So take a look at this. So this was our summer window. And Franck Kessie signed for 20 million. It was an obligation to buy. Theo Hernandez signed for 20 million. Rafael Leao, 28 million. There were bonuses, so that one went well over. But let's just look at the numbers. Ismail Benacer, 16 million. I think there was even more in the winter, if I remember right. No, there wasn't a winter one. But Alexis Salamaker is 3.5 million. My point being that for this transfer window was probably one of the most consequential ones for Milan winning the title. Kessie, 20, Theo, 20, Rafa, 28, Isma, 16. I don't think the price tag necessarily dictates how good the player is. At least a lot of the times it doesn't. So I'm not as opposed to the 20 million euro signings. For me, it's more about what kind of player are you getting. We spent 40 million on Nkunku. Are we happy about that? We hit a good number, but we're still not happy about that because we see other issues with the player. So I would say that we would definitely have to wait to see how this goes. But for me, it's a 7 out of 10 Mercato. I think we did drop the ball in the center back role. That's for sure. I think my concern is that we did not reinforce our defense the way that I would have liked. And I think that's the concern that a lot of us have had. All right, so Arana says, oh, so your Italian is rusty. It's not just rusty, buddy. It's a beginner level, but it's like, let me say this. I've had a teacher for 2.5 months now. So I can think of sentences, I can translate them in my mind. But when I hear somebody talk, it's tough to catch up on everything. Like I've been listening to rap music, like Italian rappers. I've been listening to all of Milan's match press conferences in Italian, pausing, writing down what I hear, what I understand, and then checking in the transcript if I'm right or not. Like it takes work. And at this age, when you're already graying, your brain's ability to consume and retain things is so bad. And obviously I'm not native Italian. It's not my world. But I love it. So it's going to take time, man. But I think the best way to really learn a language is to immerse yourself in the country. And that's why I'm doing it. That's why for 2 months, I want to go to the small towns. I want to go to the no-name places, non-Instagram locations, and just talk to people there and do the best that I can. And I think it will improve when I'm there for sure. Shiden Yusufin says, really appreciate your great content, great insights, and you seem like a genuinely good guy. Thank you. I appreciate it, my friend. Big time. Best football content creator. Look at that. Me here. Yo, flattering. Let's hear it, Kush. Say something, all right? Io parlo un poco italiano, so bear with me. Sto andando alla Milan in, how do you say 1 week? Uno something? So I'm going to Milan in 1 week. What else can I say? Oh, see, I'm already getting nervous. The more I think about it, the more nervous I start to get. But honestly, like if I had a Peroni on me here, it definitely would have helped out. But that's a little something for you. But when I'm there, I'll definitely put some stuff out in Italian too. You guys can see if it's good or bad. Kush, I just want to say we appreciate the dedication you put into everything around Milan. Thank you very much. I appreciate it big time from you too. For you guys for watching. It's because of you guys watching. Let's be real. It's because of you guys watching that Milan found this channel. And, you know, the club got in touch and said to me that, hey, keep doing what you're doing. We're watching it. And we'll see whatever happens once we get to Milan. But it's because of you guys watching and supporting the channel that I can even try and make this leap of going to a different country, put my real estate business on pause. That can wait. I've done that for over a decade. I can come back to that if this doesn't work out. But for now, having people like, you know, having my girlfriend with me who's super supportive about this, the family, sorry, I'm just, looking at this, family being supportive, girlfriend being supportive, she's coming with me. So and you guys being there, that's the biggest thing. But tonight, watch out for the Donnarumma video that's going to be out today. It's, again, by far the best video that I think the channel has ever created. So watch out for that. I think for now, we can probably start wrapping this up because the Mercato is now closed. I'm seeing a lot of emojis coming in. The Mercato is closed. We didn't get an experienced defender for a good striker or a good striker. These are fair critiques. I think we kind of talked about it all throughout the Mercato, so I wouldn't really say too much now. Left back issue. Yes, I see that. Estupinian is okay. I don't want to get into specific players and start criticizing them, but yeah. Someone says you use Duolingo. Man, the thing about Duolingo and those apps is that it just never makes you conversational. I think the true way to get conversational is by having a teacher. And number one is probably just immersing yourself in the culture and having a teacher. And those are the two things we're going to do. Una settimana, exactly. There we go. That's what 1 week is. I'll take some of your comments, last comments, parting, and then I'll bounce. The next video is once again going to be the Donnarumma video. And then I'll see if I can put something together this week. But in a week, I am leaving for Milan. So it's probably going to be very tough for me to put anything else out for at least for about a week and a half. Just be patient with that. Michael says, I just got on the line, Kush. Where are we as far as last minute transfers? Anything happening? Mercato is now closed, Michael. You're a little bit late to the party. But yeah, I think the biggest critique for a lot of fans has been this comment as I see it here, which is the fact that we did not get a defensive reinforcement that we definitely needed, and we did not get a striker as well. And I think the striker I'm less bothered about because we have a lot of attacking options, but the defense is getting me a little bit concerned. But biggest disclaimer in this is we don't know how De Winter is. If De Winter is good, then how many freaking center backs do we even really need to sign? Because we already have 3. We have him as number 4. How many more do we need? I guess 1 more would have still been good, but because for injury reasons, but I think we're good. If the winter is good. Robot Chill says, Kush, thanks, Kush. I'm a younger fan and I just recently started watching. You've inspired me to become a player or even manager one day. A football player? Dude. You should see my football skills. Not very good. I can carry content though, but good for you, buddy. Work. It's the only way for anything in life, really. Okay. Yeah, so to end this, let me just open up all the moves that Milan made. Let's just quickly summarize that, and then I'll bounce out. Okay, I think Milan Extra is the one who really does summarize this very well, but he did not give as much detail. But this is crazy. I got to put this tweet out from Milan Extra. I think Milan Extra is a great Twitter channel. But just look at this. Because this is pretty big, guys. 10 new signings, 30 departures. 30. That, to me, that's absolutely insane. The amount of departures that Milan has had is crazy. So I guess that's the summary, you know. He said, let's summarize the Mercato. What are your all thoughts? Yeah, what do you guys think? 10 new players coming in, 30 players leaving. Oh boy, I feel like I can't even really go through all of them, but I'm going to try and pull them up for you. This is really it. These are the arrivals. So Samuele Ricci, Luka Modric. Samuele Ricci is a good signing. Luka Modric is a good signing. Terracciano as a backup after Silvestri. Wait, what was the other guy's name? Salvatore? Well, I forget his name. Our whatever goalkeeper that left. Estupinian is, the jury's still out based on the first few performances for sure, and understandably so. Arden Yashadi, we're gonna have to wait to see. Coney De Winter, we're gonna have to wait to see. I'm really hoping that De Winter is gonna solve our defensive issues, or at least some of them. Some of them. He's gonna give that depth that this team needs, because we did not go out and sign a center back, and I think that is a big mistake that I think the club may have made. Then you got Zachary Etekame, who's going to play as a right back. I'm not even sure how much time he's going to get if De Winter can play right back or right wing back and Alexis Alamakers is still here. Christopher Nkunku, 37 million euros, plus 5 million in add-ons. A 42 million euro deal for Nkunku, a player that some fans are wondering if we even needed. But we spent it, so let's get behind him now. And Adrian Rabiot, somebody who's at 30 years age, 10 million euro deal from Marseille, offers that stability to Milan, and I think it's important to get that. And David Odogu from, where's he coming from? Wolfsburg? Yeah, I think from Wolfsburg. So those are our arrivals. Let's look at the departures. I don't even know if we can. See, Yassin Adli comes back. Benacer comes back. Morata is out. Out. Pierre Kalulu, gone. Pellegrino, Reinders. A lot of debate about this one. Calabria over. Alessandro Florenzi. The experience is gone. Luka Jovic. And a few names. Theo Hernandez. Marcos Portiello, right. He goes to Atalanta. Davis Vasquez is out. Emerson Royale is out. What a bizarre signing that was, really. Liberali goes. He wanted out. Malik Tau goes. Makes complete sense for him to go, to me at least. I just don't think it was working out. And I think even for the player, he just wanted a fresh start. Lazetic, finally, he's gone, or he's even gone permanently, or he's going to be back too. Noah Okafor is out. And then the loans that ended: Kyle Walker, Tammy Abraham, Joao Felix, Ricardo Sotil. It's been a complete overhaul. I think that's the only real way to summarize this and end this stream on that. That has been a complete overhaul for this team. When the Mercato started, there was the fantastic five that was being said: a right back, a left back, a center back, midfielder, and a striker that Milan needed. They signed a lot of players. They let go of a lot of players. They got a lot of replacements too. It's one of those weird ones where you know, you got some big name signings like Nkunku and Yashari, and a cumulative amount of over 80 million spent on them. But somehow you still feel like, in spite of the 10 arrivals and the 30 departures, you still feel like holes are left. And that's not very good. So I understand the frustration that some fans might have with the management for leaving those holes, and I'm actually in agreement that some of those holes should have been plugged. Now, in terms of super chats, I think I covered everybody here. If I didn't, I really hope I covered everyone. Yes, I did. And I'm going to go through one last round. We've been doing it for 2.5 hours, and I've never done a 2.5 hour live stream without actually a game being on. I'll quickly just go through some of your comments. If you guys, whatever you guys want to flood into the comments, do it now, because I'll go through it for about 5 minutes and then we'll keep going. Someone says, use an AI voice assistant. That's the way. No, man. What if I get an opportunity to talk to, let's say, a player? I got to know something, right? Immersion is the best way to learn any language. Best of luck. Great content. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And you're right. Immersion is the best way. Oh, you know what? This is one thing that I didn't want to ask you guys, but maybe I'll ask it once I actually get to Milan. Yeah. You know what? I don't want to discuss it right now. There was a favor I wanted to ask you guys from Milan, and I'll create content about. I'll put a post or something out, and then we can chat about that too. And in parting some of your comments, let's see this. I want to ask, please, what are we expecting on this deadline day? It's done now. Deadline day is done. Whatever we got is it now, Emori. The weirdest transfer in Serie A has to be Vardy to Cremonese. It is an odd one, gotta say. Thanks, Kush. You're great. Thank you, Yves. I appreciate it big time. We basically have a whole new squad, Persian Skeptic says. But you know what the odd part is? If you watch the starting lineup from the opening day, we barely had any new players. It was similar players playing outside of Estupinian and Modric. Who else was there that was new? It was Mike in the back with the three center backs from last season. Alexis Alamakers, who's played for the club before. Fofana and Loftus-Cheek. Up front, it was Pulisic. And whoever, I can't remember. I think Santiago Gimenez, who started. So really, you only had Modric and Estupinian who were new. So it's not really quite a whole new squad then, right? Child Space One says, Kush, will you ever cover anything related to Indian football ever on the 100%, man? I'm Indian, so 100%. Just what the content that you will see today, the Donnarumma video that I will be putting out, that's going to become the new benchmark for what kind of content, timeless stories really, that I want to show to you guys and create for you guys. So watch that video, and I'm sure you'll be excited for what we're going to put on this channel moving forward. And that will include stories about Indian football. Indian football, I'm going to start championing for sure. Balantier will surprise everyone. Yes, that's the player that I actually skipped past. We did see him in the match against Lecce. He was coming on as a replacement for Santiago Gimenez before Milan even took the second goal lead. So that's how much faith I guess Allegri had in him that, hey, you know what? You go up there. Because I think the scoreline at that point in time was... No, sorry, we did take a lead. My bad. We were up 1-0 only. It was a thin lead that Milan had against Lecce. And then Balantier came on, or was about to come on, and that's right when Pulisic scored the second goal. So I am excited to see this guy too. Oh, we're cooked again. Tripta says, always looking forward to your content. Only Milan content I watch. See you tonight, I guess. Rating for transfer market is 7 out of 10. Same as mine, my friend. Because of the missing center backs, Jimenez staying is a good one for me. Yes, I'm with you on that one. No more Gomez. No more anything. Mercato's closed now. Persian Skeptic says, saying that you are going to Milan and working from there, are you going to officially work for the club? No, there's no plans of officially working for the club. But the club did reach out and did suggest that to do something, nothing is out there. But the club did reach out, and it's at the end of the day, it's just about exposure, right? So we'll see what happens. Once I get there, then we'll meet and we'll figure things out. But no, I'm not officially working for this club. There's so many people that started this rumor that, oh, Kush is working for the club, that's why he can't criticize Redbird. It's like, I wish I was working for the club, trust me. But no, that's not the case. Thanks, Kush. Have been following for good Milan content in English for a long time. Excited to see more from you. I appreciate it, Dheeraj. I think that's good, guys. I think I can close this up now. I don't think I'm seeing any new news coming in. I'll just quickly check to see if we have any new news that is coming out. There's about 300 plus of you guys here, so I appreciate you guys joining the stream. 327. I think there's some more donations too, so this time I'm not gonna walk away without actually covering all the donations. Like I did last time. Somebody sent a really, something shut down. Hold on. I hope the stream is still on, but something shut down for me, so let me fix that. I feel like I need a producer. Like a proper producer who can help out. Handle all this behind the scenes stuff. Because I really don't know how to work this. Can I just get a quick thumbs up from somebody that the content is out and you guys can see it? Because sometimes I don't know, because something on my end shut down here. So let me just fix this. Boom, boom. Here we go. All right, perfect. I'm on. Thank you. Okay, so we fixed that there, and let's just see if there's any late news burst that we have gotten. So the Spanish league, the Spanish window is still open. I think I'm gonna take this one on. Yeah, the Spanish window is still open, so we're still getting activity about that. But the Serie A window and the Premier League window, Liga, Bundesliga, they're all closed. And Fabrizio Romano did address this, that Boniface passed his Werder Bremen medical after having failed his AC Milan medical. So that's always interesting. All right. All right, guys, I think this is good. We are now approaching the 3-hour mark almost. There's about 200 of you guys here. Once again, yes, I'm seeing your comments. I won't take all of them now, but I can read all of them. Best of luck. I thank you very much. I appreciate you, bro. Big time. All the best. Thank you. Thank you. You're still good. Okay, we can hear you. That's from a different issue. Wait, where did Romain Farr go? I'm curious now. Bournemouth? Oh, Verona. Okay. We did talk about this guy in the past. Midfielder from Bournemouth. But if its deal didn't go through yet, then he's not really going anywhere. But all right, yeah, let's bounce out now. Lots of Forza Milans. I appreciate it. Thank you for all your support, guys. And here we go. All right, yes. So watch out for the Donnarumma video tonight, guys. I appreciate you guys big time for the support. This was a last-minute impromptu plan to come live for this stream. Maybe something I'll try to do more. I was inspired really by Rafael Leao. I was like, there's no game on today, but let's just go out there, hang out with you guys for a couple hours, talk about the Mercato. I think it was easier to do it because the Mercato shut down a lot earlier. Usually shuts down at midnight in Europe, but this time around it was 7 p.m. in Europe. Made it a lot easier for me. I got the rest of the day to relax and chill. It's day off in Canada, so I'm going to have a good time with the family. I appreciate you guys big time. Watch out for the Donnarumma video. There's going to be a bit of a break for about a week and a half, maybe for the channel, because packing up, going to Milan next week, all because of you guys, your support. I appreciate big time. Thank you so much for helping me live my dream, and you guys are going to be a part of it. Please follow on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter at FootballKush, because the amount of content I'm going to be putting out on those social media platforms, I have never put out ever since the conception of the channel. So make sure you guys follow there, because there's going to be a barrage of content coming out, vertical content. I feel like I'm a little late to that party, but it's going to be coming out. So make sure you follow there. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Hold on. Sorry. One last thing. Do I have any donations that I missed? Nope. We covered everybody. Thank you so much for everybody's donations. You guys are so generous. I think this is one of the most donated to live streams. And every dollar helps right now with going to Milan. So I really, really do appreciate it big time. All of you guys. Thanks so much again. Forza Milan as always. What was your question? Someone says, answer my question. Let me just see what your question was. Romeo. Where's Romeo? Oh, see, this is what I'm saying. Last minute donation. These are very risky, guys. Sometimes I leave. Moving expenses. Look at that. Michael Andreozzi. Look at that, my friend. How kind are you? I was literally, my cursor was on end broadcast. The only reason I didn't end broadcast is because somebody said to read their comment. So I said, okay, let me just check this. But thank you so much. I appreciate the moving expenses. This will take care of, it'll take care of my check bag. Michael, this is what I'm going to do. I always like to tell you guys what I'm going to do with the money. Thank you very much for this $50 donation, because with these $50, I'm now going to buy a second check bag, because the check bags, because right now the flight I'm taking, I'm only allowed one bag. So because of your help, I can now take two, and I can take more equipment. Because right now I was just taking one for myself, one for my girlfriend. But now with this, I'm going to add a second one. So thank you very much. You have no idea how much this helps. Just like Milan wants to be a self-sustaining sort of business, I have to also keep mine that way. I can't take my real estate money and keep putting it into the channel. I need the channel to pay for itself, like Redbird wants Milan to pay for itself. So this helps. You have no idea. Thank you once again. And there's one more donation. Again, appreciated big time. Don't forget Milan, please. Why? It's never going to happen. No, that's never going to happen, my friend. I'm never going to forget Milan. Why would I forget Milan, though? That's very interesting. That's an interesting comment. No, I'll be right here. Always creating content about Milan. All right, I'm bouncing now. So hold on to your money because now this is going to end. But once again, guys, really, really appreciate it. You guys have been amazing. Best idea to do this live stream. Thank you so much, guys. And I'll see you guys really, really soon. Next video, next takeaways comes from the San Siro. So